game. I don't know if Peruvian played the Karthus necessarily, but it looks like they just want to make sure Peruvian doesn't get full skilling potential here out of the jungle.
Yeah, just taking away some of those comfort picks as well is always important. I'm really interested at the Gangplank ban away as well. And I'm wondering what they're gonna go towards now here for this game number one. As I said earlier, it's a best of five. So this game one, yes, it matters. It matters a lot to get off on the right foot. But there can be some say overzealous picks here in game number one, random minion caster, because we've seen both these teams put the pedal to the metal, and I'm kind of hoping we get that here to start us off. I'm hoping we get a very rambunctious series, but we already have first pick coming in. It was the Graves, and we get the classic potential matchup with the Lilia. It's hovered right now, and this is something we've seen since Lilia came out pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, both extremely high value junglers here. I kind of see a bit of what Omega Game was looking for here. You ban out sort of the early junglers, the
Ooh.
Hecarim, the Nidalee. You pick the Graves yourself as well. And now the Shen coming through from the side
Flex.
of Aqualix here.
It is
Yeah.
a flex possibility as well. You can take a jungle if you are brave enough. Lucian is the lock-in as well. That's another flex pick. So are they double flexing already on the side of Aqualix?
Yeah, and I mean, it's nothing to be surprised at. In a way, Aqualix's draft phase has always been really, really solid here, and they do like the Flex champions as well. That Shen, I mean, if it does go into the jungle for Perwin, will do very well into the Grave. So far, I think it's more of a wave 6 pick in the top lane. There is a fairly safe blind pick, and the Syndra coming out for the side of your nurse here on Omega Gaming. That's a really scary mid lane, actually,
It
with the
is.
Graves, with the Syndra. A lot of burst potential there.
Yeah, and the late game potential. I mean, we all know she only has to press one button. I'm not even gonna say what button it is because you all know it. And we have Caitlyn also locked in here. So another potential press R button champion. I don't know so much. Maybe we'll see the lethality Caitlyn for the
Hey
first time.
man, the only
I don't
button Syndra
know.
needs to press is F there to pay
Uh,
respects to the dead corpse of Lucian. So we'll
oh,
see
rip,
how
rip, rip,
that
rip.
goes. And the
Lilia
Lillian
did get
does get
locked in here. I
for
I
sure.
like that third pick by Aqualix.
Yeah, it makes sense here. It is one of the meta junglers. Lilia does lose out in the early game pressure, though, against the likes of Banky Kang. So on that grave. So Aqualix will have to play a little bit around that. Will not have Perwin probably being quite as strong and aggressive in the early game as they're normally used to seeing, or at least if Perwin does opt to be aggressive, will need some lane support as well to try and make sure that he does not die in the 1v1s here.
And we are already getting into the second phase of bans here. We see Aqualix take away the Mordekaiser with their first one, and then Senna was the response ban by Omega Gaming. So taking away some potential play into that Caitlyn. I know I personally love to play the Senna into Caitlyn. It is a great time, but I'm wondering what Aqualix want to go here for the last one. We have seen a very heavy target with two bands at least going to the top side, but we will see another support band away, and it's the Karma. I guess it's technically a flex, but that Karma is going to bite the dust here in the draft. And then Ash is the potential ban away by Omega.
A lot of focus here in against Oshawott here, and the Senna is Oshawott's most played ADC so far in Risen Divine League, so it makes sense to take that off the table. And like you said, the good matchup into Caitlyn as well. Just trying to take as much off as they can. And Aqualix, their bans here, you can see two in the top, two in the support role, one in the jungle. It does feel like they're trying to push Choro here a bit towards the sort of tanky
Oh,
pigs in the top lane, but Samara here.
where the video goes there? Oh no. All right. Well, I don't know how this is gonna work out. You just picked so much short range into a Caitlyn. But hey, we're gonna figure it out as they do, I'm sure. That is a very strong wombo combo potentially coming out. Samira is very good, but into Caitlyn, she can have a bit of a rough time. But hey, they're looking to show their muscle in game number one.
Yeah, and like I agree with you. The Samara to Caitlyn feels like you're picking
Oh
into.
no, and then they just random indie caster. I think this is good. I don't know. I know it's early. I know it's just the draft, but my goodness, you lock in that target Scion. She's not gonna have a good time.
Aqualix must have known that that Scion was on the table here. Choro, most played champions are Gangplank and Scion. You ban the Gangplank, you ban the Mordekaiser. I was saying it felt like they're pushing him towards the tank. So surely they must have accounted for this. And
Yeah,
Samira is going to have a real rough time. But at the same time, Oshawott played Samira twice before. And the
true.
Samira, every time he's played it, he's absolutely popped off on it here.
Yep,
So his mechanics on the champion are not in doubt here. It's more of a question of can he play around the composition that he's playing into. And they did drop
exactly.
the Rakan as well here for Monster Mash. So they'll have the engage. And Samira should have a nice, easy time to stack that S sort of style here. We'll have to see if it will be enough. But we're just looking at that one pick in isolation, right? There's the Lilia as well to deal with the tanks. Once you pick up a Leandries there, you can quite easily shred through the Taric and the Scion as well. My big question now becomes that Caitlyn pick here for the side of Omega Silence, because it doesn't feel like they have a really good answer against this super long range, super safe ADC here.
And that's what worries me a little bit. You're also just putting you said there's a little bit to the Lilia, yes, for the tank shred, whatever. The fact that they don't have anything but the Lucian and the Samira worries me. Because yes, you have the Samira, and I think that's a very valid point for them to be able to play through. But it's only one champion, and we've seen time and time again where Graves can get the upper hand in that matchup, and that's what worries me because you are banking, just absolutely banking on these low range 80 carries with a high skill ceiling, of course, and high potential. But you have a lot of ways to shut it down. So honestly, I'm ready for this game because I want to see Aqualix knock this game out of the park and say, "Here, now you have to answer to us."
Feel like to a certain extent as well, maybe potentially a slight bit of disrespect from Aqualix the way they
A
draft
little
here.
bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Because if you look at their draft in isolation, Shen, Lucian, Samira, Lilia, Rakan, they're all very meta champions. That actually
Mhm.
doesn't look like a bad draft in isolation here. I look at that and say, hey, that's a pretty good draft. But the problem is just that it feels like they did just that. They dropped in isolation. They didn't respect what Omega Silence was drafting for themselves here. And especially once that Caitlyn came up and you start taking away the carry options in that top lane, then you had to know that there were going to be tanks, and tanks usually mean CC
Yeah.
disruption as well, and even worse, close range disruption that blade rope from Samira can't necessarily block here. And on
Yeah.
paper, at the beginning of season, even throughout the regular season, most people would not have expected Omega Gaming Silence to quite get this far, all the way here to the winners finals bracket, but they've done it, and that means they've taken on
Yeah.
other really, really solid teams throughout the playoffs here. And it's the best of five. This, I believe, will be the first best of five we have here. So if a Qualix does underestimate Omega Gaming Science a little bit here, at least they'll have time to come back. And it'll also give us, as well as viewers, a really good gauge on what we can expect for sort of the skill matchup between the players here.
Yeah, and I think you can take a lot of these playoffs that we've seen so far into account when you're looking at this game because both these teams coming off 2-1 performances, really having great times in some moments of those games, sometimes a little bit throwy, how it goes. But hopefully what I'm really looking to see here is that development from week to week and here in the winners finals where you can punch your ticket to the grand finals and not have to worry about slogging through the muck of the losers bracket and making it back to that point. This is a huge moment for them. And I think both compositions for both teams are looking a little bit comfortable. I mean, I think I definitely think Aqualix is a little bit less comfortable, but they picked it themselves. They chose these picks, so
Those are
I
comfort picks for them, right?
they are, but I'm talking team comp, all right? Like, it is not comfortable. I'm really hoping because that could change the entirety of this best of 5, right? I mean, like I was highlighting to earlier, if Aqualix can't perform on these picks, you have to second guess some of these comfort picks that you were able to pick up on the side of Omega Gaming Silence, and as you said, they weren't expected to get here. They might have a little chip on their shoulder, but we'll have to see how it goes in this first game at least, because I think there's a lot of playability through many, many of the lanes in this matchup.
Since we were talking so much about how it's hard for Aqualix's composition to work, we should probably talk a little bit here about the win cons for both teams for Omega
Mhm.
Silence. The reason why it's looking so bad for Aqualix here is we've mentioned the range from Azuto on that Caitlyn here, the front line, the tankiness, and let's not forget the Cosmic Radiance for Taric here. It's the single biggest reason why Taric gets picked is that invincibility, that invulnerability, which is kind of difficult to stop as well, aside from just flat out killing Taric. So that will counter the Blade Whirl pretty hard as well. Early game, your Graves, the back for Banky Kanker is going to be able to run the map, and it's really going to be up to Pirwin to try and match that. And then you look at the mid lane matchup specifically. You pick Lucian to dominate the early game, but when you get counterpicked by that Syndra, that's one of the best lanes to handle that Lucian there. Like you said, press one button, whether it be F for respects or R for the ultimate. I mean, Lucian's gonna have a bit of a rough time there in the early game. So Omega Gaming Silence, their composition works better in the team fights here, and that's what they're going to be
Yeah.
looking for. Skill up, get into team fights, and then we look at Aqualix here. Normally, that composition screams team fight. You want to split push
Mhm.
with Wave Six on that Shen if possible, and then just let the rest of the team look for fights. Scale up the Lilia a little bit or dominate with the Lucian, with the Samira if you can. And that win condition kind of doesn't change. They still want to look to try and dominate in the mid lane, in the bot lane. You've picked the Samira Rakan. That's kind of almost a kill lane here. It's got great team fight as well. You've got the Lucian in the mid lane. That's looking to dominate. So they're looking to get the bot lanes ahead, let Lilia scale up. And in these team fights, they're going to need to have flanks this time to try and disrupt the chaos and try and let Oshawott pop off. He's done it before. He can do it again. And in fact, he has to do it again here.
Yeah, it really does, and I think the dragons are gonna play a big factor, at least the early dragons, into how Aqualix wanna play and how beneficial their early game is gonna be to them. Because you do have to realize, I mean, this game, if it goes late, it's gonna be super scary. You have the Grave scaling up, you have the Cinder, the Caitlyn. We've already talked about these kinds of things, but if you can get ahead, if you get RNG and you get a good soul, but even if you do get the early priority on these objectives, I think you set yourself up for success. And that's what I'm hoping to see here in game number 1 for either of these teams. We're going to have to see which one comes out on top and brings us to 1-0, but we're going to go on to a spectator delay here while we get ready for the games. So do not touch that browser and we'll be right back. Well, welcome back, everyone. We have made it back onto Summoner's Rift, and we see a nice 5-man point of scrimmage here.
Yeah, not a ton of action early. I mean, it's a best of five here. I was hoping for. I feel like when you've got a best of five series, game one and game five are when you start. Like, when I feel like you can really afford to take those level one risks. But unfortunately, are we gonna maybe see something? Choro and Banky going in. Oh,
I believe I'm back, Mr. Random
oh.
Indie
Well, yeah.
I just want to take a
Glad.
moment to get on point. I think I'm at 115, 116.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. A little bit of timing issues. We're getting this out here.
Okay, we're good. All right. So we see. Sorry about that. LA internet and all that good stuff. You know. Excuses, excuses. I apologize. We do see an invade going here by Pyroan, and I really like this. I was a little interested that he wasn't starting the chickens first, because that's typically what you see for the Lilia, but just going for the red because he knows that he can take advantage of it.
Yeah, delayed invade. It did get spotted out, so they will be able to
Oh
recognize
no,
that.
Oshawott, he gets exhausted. That's already the heal burn. They have the distance. Oh, one more attack. The auto. Oh, it's not there. Now they have to be really careful though. Oh no, he stepped back forward. Azudo with the ruthless level 1 here at the boss side.
My goodness, we might see more action here because Peru and
They they caught them on the outside of it. They got the red and they just walked away. So actually, it's going to be a 3 buff for Pyroan.
the good rotation there. They knew, they suspected pretty much that Banky Kang would be trying to go back and get the red buff on the other side since they spotted Perwin going in. And at least they make sure they don't lose that. And that kind of maybe helps to even out the bot side play a little bit there. Not completely, because we've already talked about the unfavorable matchup for Samira against the Caitlyn and having that early kill as well. And it was Oshawott going down. So Oshawott really losing quite a lot in this bot lane. So that's a great start for Omega Gaming Science. And I feel like this is kind of how Omega's been winning a lot of their games here. They've been really popping off on individually for a lot of their players, especially for Azudo and your nurse, pardon me, here in the mid lane. They've been doing really, really amazingly well, above and beyond what was expected from the regular season. And it feels like these are two lanes that are kind of being set up for success here in game one as well.
So far, so good. I would like to point out that 3 summoner spells burned on the side of Aqualix, while only 2 were burned. Decently important ones, but you still have some playability down there with the Zudo and Banjido. But now on the top side, you see Banky Kang was roaming up looking for it, seeing if Wavesix gets baited onto Koros, but does not do that. They're just going to push this wave in. It looked like Banky Kang was going to go ahead and take his back as well right before that.
Yeah, and I mean, Banky Kang just trying to make sure Koro doesn't fall too far behind there.
Pyroan? I think Pyroan doesn't know that his red is still there. Like I don't know how he wouldn't know that, because he ran into Bank King and he didn't have a red buff. He had the blue buff, but he hasn't pathed back up that way. He's got a full red buff still sitting at, or red buff and Krug still sitting at level 1.
Yeah, I feel like to a certain extent it might just be trying to extend the
Yeah, that's what I was maybe.
Yeah, because his red buff just wore off not too long ago as well, and he did manage to go in there, and he's taking away more of Banky Kang's creep. So considering, you know, the
Gonna run into him here. This might not be what you want to do at this part in the game, Pyro, and he is just taking shotgun shell after shotgun shell to the back of the head, and he goes down. That's already 2 kills in the pockets of Omega Gaming Silence, and they are on a roll right now.
and probably the time where Perwin kind of wishes he took the red buff there so he could get the down and maybe get out, but unfortunately, it looks like he started a little early here.
I don't know. I mean, that's hey, you never know what can happen with the communication and everything like that. But it looks like he's gonna finally go to his red side and be able to take that. So he will get that 3 buff start against Banky King. So that feels good.
And I mean, for all that he did end up sort of dying there. He actually doesn't lose too much because he's able to just go right back to his jungle and continue to
Reversio
match.
flashes forward. Oh, the Ignite's not going to be enough. Yornor's tried to get the kill back, but now, yeah, there's no way you're getting out of here, bud. You're just going to have to take the execution if you can. See the escapades of Reversio. Can he reverse it into an elimination? He doesn't. He gives the gold right over to the Syndra.
Yeah, I mean, still though, that was an impressive solo kill. And as the Lucian here,
Yeah, it
you
was.
kind of need to do that, especially since your nurse, now level 6 as well, was out of mana in that fight, was really low on health as well. You need to punish when you can, because after this, it's going to get harder and dicier to try and be able to match Syndra's burst in lane as well. And that kill potential will really be there for your nurse. But great play to deny the assist to Benjito and Banky Kang as well, who are coming up from the bot side.
Ooh, yeah, good flash by Wave Zix. If he got knocked up there, they would be able to collapse on him. They're really putting a lot of focus into this global presence of the Shen up here in the top line, especially onto Wave Zix. Now, even more presence coming here. That's going to be the unstoppable coming through, and the R button, as always, right there for your nurse to press.
I felt like your nurse didn't even need to really go through with the unleashed power there. Probably just another ball and auto would have done it. But that roam up is being answered right now by the Mountain Drake going down to the side of Team Aqualix here. They are focusing on these major objectives, and I want to point out that Oshawa, despite going down early, has actually almost caught completely up in farm here. So Oshawa really recovering amazingly well in the bot lane from what looked like a really bad level 1 start.
And Pyroid is again just taking farm from Banky King, and it's not that big of a lead right now. It's only about 10 to 11, but it still feels really bad to always have your stuff stolen away. Reversio has actually been playing this matchup really well in the mid lane. Has been taking some aggressive trades back and forth, but with the pressure that he's had in the mid lane, the priority, it's been really nice for Pyroan because that means he's able to go and invade this jungle over and over again.
The way the game kind of started as well, the almost what looked like a bit of a vertical jungle starting as well, has meant that Pyroan has been able to continuously invade that bot side over and over again. And despite having gone down, he's actually up right now in terms of gold.
Where's his focus yet again?
Oh, man.
Don't know if he's going to die this time. Flash forward from Toros. He does get the last shotgun shell to connect. And Banky Kane goes up with another kill. 5-1 at 8 minutes in the game here for Omega Gaming Silence.
That time, no ultimates were needed to finish him off. Yes, the flash came out from Choro, but that's still definitely worth it there. And Wave 6 on this Shen right now is up CS, but starting to fall behind. And the thing about the Shen as well is that if you're constantly being shoved in, you can't use your Stand United effectively here without losing a ton of pressure. That top lane turret already down 2 plates. If he does use a Stand United, does not have the teleport to get back into lane, he could very well lose the entire turret against Koro here as well. So it's going to be a bit rough to see his global pressure.
It is. We see Pyroan trying to make it happen in the mid lane. Can they get the damage down? They do. Reversio goes down too, though. And a shutdown onto the Syndra. Both summoner spells burn, but you pull away a kill.
And Pyroan's just going to be happy to soak up all the farm as well left over, the real beneficiary of that fight. And unfortunately, we're starting to see in the mid lane here a bit of that issue here, and why Syndra is such a good pick into the Lucian as well. Lucian not really able to establish the dominance you'd want to see from the Lucian early here. And as the game goes on, that Syndra is going to scale up higher and higher as well.
Oh my god.
The week, oh my, he's maxing the decimating smash, and it is
so much damage.
I'm not even sure he procced the grass on the Undying on that one as well. So that's just, that looked like it was straight Q damage. That's absolutely brutal. That's a level up from Koro here, and that's just gonna continue being an issue for Wave 6. And that ultimate, he can just keep using the Unstoppable Onslaught to set up any ganks here. And Banky Kang and Yurders have shown a great willingness to go up there to get a free kill if they can.
Yeah, and that's been one of the biggest factors here is they have been focusing on this global presence of this Shen. If this is like a tried and true play that you see all the time, you attack this global presence. They don't have any initiative. They don't have any priority themselves. and they can't really be this big benefit. I mean, we've all seen Shens come down with the TP or a Stand United and completely change the terms of a fight. This game, it's a lot more volatile than that. It's a lot less of a sure thing.
Yeah, no, this game we actually haven't seen the Stand United go down anywhere here. He's not turned any tides here. And oh my goodness, Reversio's already taken low. Your nurse can look for this.
Yeah, he does get one last proc on there. Now the response, Pyroan has gotten to the top side, but he finds a shotgun waiting for him in the bush. The unstoppable onslaught came out. Pyroan, one more shot, misses the collateral damage. That was so close. Now Wave6 going to get decimated as well. One more shot will do it. He goes for it. Banky Kang with the double kill and setting his team up for success.
I'm getting flashbacks to Bambi right here. The shotgun right into Pyroan's face. And that was a 2v2, but it started as a 2v1, and they still lost that. So that top lane right now looking kind of lost here.
And bot lane is under pressure here by Azudo and Banjito. I love the plays coming out from Omega Gaming Silence right now. They're just making the right decisions around the map, and especially in Banky King. I mean, you get 3 buffed by Pyro, and you get pressed out of your jungle over and over again, yet you're still 4-0. You're still only 10 CS behind this Lilia, and you've gotten the Rift Herald now. So you're doing just fine and dandy as Banky King, and you're waiting to keep racking up this gold and make that shotgun even stronger.
Yeah, and now we do see the second Drake coming up as well. The Inferno has spawned, and they gave the first Drake over for free.
No.
To do it again.
Revertio. He didn't really know what happened there. It's one of those moments where you're like, hands off the keyboard, see what happens. Revertio, very low health, got saved by the Stand United. Choros is down here as well. They want the priority over this dragon, and they get just that. They will stick one person in as the Rift Herald is being focused, and they will pick up that dragon.
Yeah, they trade Shelly's life there for an uncontested Inferno Drake, but really, it was going to be so hard for Aqualix to try and force that one when Reversio was already basically out of the fight completely there. And oh, a beautiful Scatter of the Week, which just completely denies the culling there. And Reversio is starting to look like he's running out of options a little bit in the mid lane as to how he wants to try and deal with your nurse here. And you talked a little bit about it in the picks and bans as well, Mazel. He can't even try and look at, say, the bot lane against Caitlyn. That's not going to be safe. If he goes for Koro in the top lane as well, if Banky Kang will be more than happy to have ganks into that top side as well against Reversio there.
In bot lane, we get the play, though. Here comes the Cosmic Radiance to save the day. Look at how much that just saved, though. Oshawott gets taken out by the built-over Peacemaker. That's going to be a triple sleep. Banjito is going to be out of the fight by Pyro, and your nurse is joining, though, and that's a bit scary, as you already see the grand entrance used by Monster Mash to get away down there. Topside tower will fall. Wave6 flashes after Choros, but both are going to survive. And it's a bit unfortunate, but still, Omega Gaming Silence coming away with more plays on this bot side.
Yeah, and they get first start in the top side as well. Koro really just tanking up that turret way more than I think he should have, but he survived, and that's absolutely massive here against Wave6 because he can start roaming.
Reversio got TP'd on. See if Choros and your nurse can finish him off. No power unleashed available. Can he get him? The knockback is there. And your nurse has slain the man, the myth, the legend, Reversio.
Yeah, and your nurse did that with next to no mana whatsoever there. And I don't think Reversio is going to be able to live up to his name here in game one, at least not in isolation here, man. It's looking real rough for him.
And the thing is like you're no longer getting these like 1v1s or lane v lanes. You're getting affected by everybody at this point on the side of like Omega Gaming is just too good at what they're playing right now and how they're moving around the map that it's hard for the response to come out. And you're trying to farm up a little bit. You have some scaling issues, but we talked about in the beginning of the draft, like you need to make things happen earlier on. You need to be focusing these objectives, especially looking at the dragons. And now we feel like the priority for them has just gone out the window.
Yeah, and we had a bit of a taste of what a team fight might look like in that bot lane earlier. And you could tell right there that if Pirone did not land a 3-man sleep to try and salvage something at the end of that fight, they would have just been completely stomped in that fight. Nobody even taken low. But Reversio, oh my
Oh,
goodness.
the heal from the level up.
That he got away with about 70 health there. I'm not sure if the
Yeah.
level up gave him enough health. I think he might have survived with just a sliver if not for that, but it was real close there. And Reversio was just getting abused. And that's why
But,
we
like,
said he can't match anyone anywhere right here.
yeah, and Oshawott just gets
Oh,
taken out in transition. Like, there's no need to transition at that point. You're walking up the river, and they have complete control over it. So that's a oopsie coming through this early on in the game. But can the side of Omega Gaming Silence capitalize on it? Looks like they're gonna focus down this mid lane continuously. And Banky Kane smells blood. I don't know if he's gonna be able to get it. They do get the tower though.
and that's frankly good enough there. I mean, a tower is worth more than kills, so you take those, and they're pressuring again in the bot lane. And I'm just looking at the lane assignments, and I'm not seeing any favorable way for Aqualix to really try and match Omega Gaming Silence's sort of spread here. Right, there's no good sort of thing. They've got to outnumber in every single lane, and what scares me a little bit and what worries me is when in the bot side Oshawott got caught out, they had full vision. That's where they have most of their vision concentrated, and he still got caught out. So anywhere else on the map right now, they don't have vision, and that's going to result in Shelly going down to Banky Kang, which is pretty much another guaranteed turret here when they decide to drop Shelly. And for the side of Aqualix, they don't win a straight up fight right now. They have to sort of find picks somewhere, and that starts with vision, but you not only need the vision, but you actually need the proper setup, and you need Omega Gaming Silence to be wandering on their own, and then you catch out and punish them. And with the likes of Benjito always bodyguarding Azudo here, you're probably not going to catch him. Your nurse is probably going to be able to trade 1-for-1 anywhere. You're kind of just looking for Banky Kang or just sort of a misplay here from Omega Gaming Silence.
Yeah, and you're staring down the barrel about a 6,000 gold differential here. And now we're going to see if they can turn it around on the top side. That's immediately a lot used. The double sleep coming through, but do they want to follow this up? Cosmic Radiance is going to be nicely timed. Choros looking to tank and be the front line for his team. They don't really have the vision they want, and your nurse just completely obliterates Oshawott on the side there. Now it's a 4v5. They're not even caring about it. They're taking the dragon, and that is another unfortunate turn of events here for Aqualix.
Yeah, now it's that Cloud Drake is such a huge Drake here for the side of Omega Gaming Silence as well. Mainly for sort of 3 players. You've got Koro here who can just go charging in, initiating fights now, and suddenly it's so hard to get away.
Yeah, you just can't. There's no way. You just can't get away. It's indefinite. The shotgun shells are heat seeking at this point.
Oh my goodness, yeah, and then you've got the Unleash Power as well, which is going to be on a shorter cooldown. You Cosmic Radiance, and they've caught Koro, but I'm not sure that's really catching him. He's not taking any damage.
He used that for like no distance at all, but the trap came down and Monster Mash ran right into it. What a play.
I think Monster Mash lost more health.
Yeah. Man, that feels so bad. And the balloon of this gold lead is continuing. I mean, it's like they just have a hot air pump right up in it, and it's just connected and it's going continuously. It's not going to stop anytime soon. And that's a bit scary because this ledge gets even steeper for Aqualix in this game, because we hammered down the differences in the comps, what the win conditions were, and we did highlight how much scaling there was on the side of Omega Gaming Silence and what pieces they want to use. And so far, those pieces are shining. I mean, those are those holographic cards you get when you get so excited as a kid when you got Pokemon, you know.
Yeah, those legendary cards here. And, Mazel, one thing, I feel like it's kind of fallen by the wayside, but we're not even at 20 minutes yet.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it just feels like the pace of the game has accelerated so quickly here in the beginning of the game. And it really does come down to the way Omega Gaming Silence has played. Usually, their mid and bot lanes are really solid. Your Nurse, Azudo, and Benjito are just the foundations for their team here. They rarely really fall behind too far. And it's their top side that sometimes has a bit of questions. Banky Kang's sometimes can have a lack of effect. Same with Choro, but they've been playing great this game. And now,
Hey.
Turner,
Yeah, the Cully comes in. That's gonna be a little bit of extra icing on top by Reversio as they do get the kill onto your nurse, picking up a decent shutdown for himself, about 650 gold. So not too shabby, but still got to respond everywhere else. Does look like they're going to prioritize this topside tower though.
yeah, and if they can get turrets here, that's a nice infusion of gold for themselves. More importantly, they get to try and establish Baron vision here, because that, if they lose Baron, it's kind of game over for them. The shell being dropped in the bot lane with Banky Kang and Choro means that this bot side is completely shafted here. And they can look to keep pushing here because it's only wave 6 defending. Oshawott running as fast as he can to try and back them up.
They could get a second tower here if they're not careful. Wow, they do, and that's a double knockup too on
And
Oshawott. Here comes Ace in the hole. The damage is there. The Blade Whirl ended at the exact second that the sniper shot came through, and that is everyone falling to pieces here for Aqualix, as well as their base. They will lose their first inhib here. It could be even more, as the aggression doesn't stop. They want to make their name known here in game number 1, and it looks like cooler heads could prevail if they want to, but they have another minion wave coming in. They could just be going for the throat.
And they're down for at least the next 5 seconds. Oshawott, Cosmic Radiance.
They get a lot on that as well. Look at the focus. Look at the damage. It's coming in on the Nexus. Can this be game number 1? Are they going to get it? Couple more auto techs coming in, and that is it. That is Omega Gaming Silence setting the pace for this best of 5.
Mega Gaming silencing all their disbelievers in the chat, all the Aqualix supporters there with their game 1. And game 1 was truly a clinic here. 22-minute game. They did not take Baron. They did not need to take Baron whatsoever. And it felt like every single player from the side of Omega Gaming Silence just worked together like clockwork there. And Choro with the most damage. Look at the damage spread. It's so even as well. Everybody doing pretty close damage here. The pieces we identified, the Syndra, the Caitlyn, they didn't do the most damage necessarily. And don't let Benjito's damage fool you. 994. He didn't even hit 1,000 damage, but his Cosmic Radiance and Dazzles were on point here in
From
game
level 1.
yeah, right away at that level 1 there, but they just punished Oshawott for trying to even step up. It's just so clean. And looking at this, I feel like Aqualix can't really draw much from game 1 here, because it felt like a lot of it just came from their draft and how they just ignored what came up from Omega Gaming Silence. So I don't think it's so much like a draft issue or, mechanical issue. I think they need to sort of reset their mental and like actually try and respond to Omega Gaming Silence, to their drafts, and to the early game plans and what they're seeing on the map here.
I couldn't agree more. Hopefully they will put a little bit more respect into the draft and a little bit more thought as we go into game number 2. We're going to take a little break here, refresh our vocal cords, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. We have made it here for game number 2 of this winner's final in the Risen Divine League. I am Mazel, joined again by Random Minion Caster, and we have no switch ups of sides, but a switch up of games in the series. Game number 2. Hecarim banned away first, the Gangplank, the response by Aqualix.
Yeah, and so far nothing new on the ban list here. And I think for Omega Gaming Silence, there wasn't really a need for them to change anything up here. Game one really didn't show anything new for Aquilix, and it didn't show anything particularly scary from how it got played out. So I think we're going to see sort of the same bans coming up from Omega Gaming. And I'm just looking at Aqualix now as to what they want to do here. I mean, the Graves was a really strong pick. It was sort of targeted here, and interestingly, they banned the Elise, so they don't have the Elise to counter if that Graves gets first picked once again by Banky Kang. And my question now is, are they going to ban the Graves and leave the Morgue open instead here?
Yeah, the Nidalee ban is peculiar. I think the Caitlyn ban is okay. I think you can pick things into the Caitlyn that make it better, but they decided to do away with it. The Graves again coming in first pick for OGS.
And this makes me wonder if they're still thinking of trying to run that Samira once again here, because the Caitlyn was definitely well, not the only problem, but the biggest problem for Oshawott Samira there. So maybe they take out the Caitlyn. They're hoping to do that. But I'm still trying to wonder what they do to try and deal with Banky Kang's Graves. The Lilia for Pirwin did okay. Well, to be fair to Pirwin played the early game well. They 3-buffed Banky Kang. All that was all good and well, but Banky Kang ended up farming the lanes instead, the champions rather than the jungle. And so, yeah, it looks like they're going to do a bit of the salty run back there with the change of an Ornn in for a Shen here. So hopefully a better laning phase for Wave 6 here in the top lane.
Hopefully is the plan. I really like the response and the change up in the style, I guess, with the more late game focus, kind of going for that scaling option there. And the Lilia, I thought you started off so well with the Lilia last game on the side of Aqualix, but it just petered out a little bit, and that is due to the lane states and how things kind of were rolling that way. But I just think
Okay.
it's so hard. The Scion came in as well for OGS, and if they do this, Samira, that is the ultimate courage play. They throw the gauntlet on the table and pick up the Samira. Hey,
Yeah,
there
and
it is, though. That Senna pick into it is huge.
yeah. Yeah, and again, Senna is Oshawott's most played champion as well, so definitely going to be super comfortable on this pick. And Senna brings a lot of very similar tools to the table that Caitlyn did as well. So again, they're going to have that super long range that can punish the Samira in lane and in team fights as well. So I like the pickup here. Now, shoes on the other foot. How is Azuto going to be able to play that Samira around the Senna here? And the Taric actually going to be banned by Aquilix this time, so they won't be the ones to have that Cosmic Radiance. But I think it's a good ban, because if you give a Taric Samira combo, that is one of the OG Samira pairings there. The Cosmic Radiance into the Inferno trigger is nothing to laugh at here. And Banjito played an excellent Taric.
He did, for sure. You don't want to deal with that. The Yone ban came through for OGS, which I know is becoming even more popular now here recently. But it still has a huge carry potential, but isn't played by a lot of people right now, at least. Maybe next season. But the ban comes out nonetheless. The Pantheon comes down because that is such an excellent pick to go with Samira. It gives you that heavy kill lane. And the response here, they do not want to deal with the Lucian anymore, as Reversio was actually kind of smurfing on that pick last game.
Yeah, I mean, he did get, quite a few. I think he was the only person to really pick up kills here for the side of Aqualix. So I think it's a safe ban, and that Yone ban as well. It just, I believe, Mazel, was, what was it, the last time we cast, the time before that? We actually cast Aqualix playing this Yone, and it was Reversio,
Yeah.
previously known as No Ego, absolutely just slaughtering everyone on the Yone. So I think I kind of like the ban here a little bit. They didn't ban it game one and it wasn't picked though, so I don't know how high an impact it's. It looks like they might potentially be drafting a Galio. Could be flexed mid, could be support here for the side of Aqualix, and a very sort of defensive, really strong front line coming out of Aqualix so far.
I'm hoping that this kind of change up in style, change up in draft is going to do them wonders here. I do like the Galio plays more into that team play, that being able to respond to things that they weren't able to respond to last game, though. But you get this classic matchup, the Nautilus with the Samira, all that CC, all that extra CC coming from this ADC who, for some reason, has hard CC and a wind wall. It's really hard to deal with.
Yeah, I mean that hard CC coming out from that ADC from Samira is dependent on having some sort of other CC as well on the lane. So that Nautilus brings so much CC, it just feels like it's rubbing salt into the wound here. And now I'm curious to see what Aqualix picks. I'm assuming the Galio goes support here because I'm not sure Reversio. It doesn't really fit Reversio's playstyle that much. I feel like when he plays the Galio, and if you hold the counter pick for him, it feels like that makes so much more sense here. But the Oriana pickup from the side of your nurse here, I mean, that's a staple blind pick here. It's so hard to counter. And Yone is off the table, but his brother Yasuo was not.
Yeah. They have a couple knockups to go with it. Why not? Yeah, I mean, hey, it's in the same vein. And Reversio has the potential to be this hyper carry player for them. I do really like the Oriana in the mid lane for OGS, though. I think it's a very safe pick, and you can play around it really well with your composition. So that's a good stable setup for OGS. But now again, just like in game number one, I feel like it's up to Aqualix to really make something happen in this game.
Yeah, and I feel like Omega Gaming Silence here. They drafted the Samira, but they have a much better sort of matchup here. No Caitlyn to really punish quite as hard here. No Tarek to sort of deny everything that you want to do in these team fights. And you're not banking so heavily on sort of two ADCs here. You've got the Oriana this time. You've got a huge source of magic damage in these massive team fights as well that they'll have to track. So you've got a bit more threat to the table. I like what they've done here for team compositions, but I like what Aqualix has done with their comp quite a bit more as well compared to game one here. The Ornn with the Ornn Horn is absolutely massive and can set Yasuo up to get that last breath off on multiple people, but he has to make sure he times it right. If that blade roll is up, it will deny the Ornn Horn, same as the Yasuo wind wall will as well. So they have to be careful, but if they play around that, they should be fine. They have much better lanes this time. I think the Yasuo into Oriana, yeah, should be fine. The Galio Senna into Nautilus Samira will also be okay. Galio can interrupt the Inferno trigger, so that's going to be good for them. So I think Pirwin will have a much better time in the jungle. And considering that he had bad lanes in game one and still seemed to do pretty well in the head-to-head against Banky Kang here, except for the one time he kind of ran into him in the jungle. They should be fine, I think. And Pirwin will have a much better time, much better chance to scale up into the late game here. So while I do prefer Omega Gaming's composition slightly, I think Aqualix have a much better chance this game here. And I think we might actually see a much more competitive, probably longer game as well in game two.
Yeah, no more 22-minute games around here, right? Well,
Yeah.
I think that there is some possibility. I think there is also a big snowball possibility for both of these sides, honestly. I mean, you look at these compositions, and there's some very strong early game potential if you get the gold in the right hands for both. And I'm, I know I'm a little biased. All right, I really hope we get to see a good Samira performance come out here because I really like this champion, but I think there's so much you can do in a game in general, and this is going to be a really telling matchup here. You've got this Senna who is picked all the time into it. It's Oshawott Bay, if you will, and going against the Samir in this bot lane, I think it's going to be very pivotal to how both these teams want to play because I think everywhere else is going to be a little bit wishy-washy.
Yeah, so definitely eyes onto the bot lane here in terms of trying to see where the action's going to happen for sure. And I think the other thing that we should maybe keep our eyes on as well is the jungles, because I feel like the junglers will be sort of the catalyst, or maybe not a catalyst, but a little bit more extra salt and spice into the bot lane as well, because we've seen that both these junglers would love to influence the bot lanes, and if the bot lanes are the volatile lanes, that's probably where we're going to see the junglers look to pay some attention to.
Well, we'll have to find out on the other side of this break because we are going to take one for the spectator delay. But do not go anywhere because we have game number 2 of this best of 5 series between Omega Gaming Silence and Aqualix Esports coming right at you. Welcome back, everyone. We have made it and we have arrived. Game number 2 starting right now.
And it looks like we're already getting the side of Aqualix here blitzing out here, and they're looking to potentially counter an invade. I mean, this was where Banky Kang and Koros kind of looked to get into here in game 1. So are they going to try and repeat this? I'm curious to see.
It could end really good for them. It could also waste a little bit of time, but hey, you're looking for an advantage in game number 2 of a best of 5 series. This is the way to
Oh,
do it. They
oh,
know that they
that's
are there.
brilliant.
That is troll.
I mean, they had no vision. They suspected there. We
Yep.
did see Koros do that in game 1 as well, just throwing down that Q into the bush. And
He's
yeah,
doing
he
it
just,
again.
he should
Why
try.
not?
He should try.
That's hilarious. Oh my goodness.
that was
What do they say? The plans of mice and men or whatever? Greatest plans. Greatest laid plans by mice and men, but it always ends in tragedy or whatever.
I honestly can't recall, but
Oh
either way,
no.
if it
Oh
doesn't involve
no.
the zone,
Hold on. Cover for me. I'm gonna find
Okay.
it.
we're gonna look that up, but frankly, if it doesn't involve a zombie, I'm not sure it's necessarily gonna be the most accurate thing here. And it looks like the teams are gonna give you some time to look that up as well, Mazel, as we do
Apparently.
unfortunately get a bit of a pause here. And it
Yeah, it's
looks
the
like
best
the
laid
issue.
schemes of mice and men, I guess. And it's supposed to be like, no matter how much planning you have, no matter how much execution you're trying to attempt, you like it's always gonna go wrong. And that's a perfect example of it because they had no vision, but because this man does this every time, he just happens to do it.
Yeah, and it certainly worked really well. And it looks like the cause of the pause right here is Perwin, the jungler for Aqualix, is having some sort of connectivity issues. So he is going to try and reconnect here. So we do have a little bit of a pause.
Yeah, we're gonna take a little break while we get this all situated and get back onto the rift. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back. Maybe this is the time to go grab some popcorn or grab a drink. You know, some hot cocoa sounds real nice because it's like 50 degrees in LA right now. So somebody go do that for me. Thank Welcome back, everyone. Sorry about the wait on that. We just had some internet issues on the side of Pyron, but we are back, and we are back into the action. 2 minutes in, not a lot to talk about so far in action terms of things, but we did highlight a lot of points in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, we do have a bit of more time in the early game this time to talk a little bit about what we can sort of look at a little bit here in the lanes. And we were talking about, how this bot lane could potentially be quite volatile for both sides. And Pirwin on this Lily are probably not going to be able to provide too much backup to the bot lane. So it's really going to be on Banky Kang to try and swing this bot lane, because you're already seeing Azudo being punished by the range of the Senna, as was expected. But that's going to leave Oshawott and Monster Patch a little bit pushed up here, but instead it looks like mid lane's where we might see a bit of action, because Reversio getting hyphy here.
Getting a little bit too hyphy, if you will. What? Oh, the knockback shot doesn't do it, but the flash, he doesn't get it anyways. The corrupting pots are just a little too strong. And the early gank from Banky Kang isn't going to work out here in game number 2.
Yeah, but Reversio will have to be careful here. Looking for a return gank, but Reversio is so low, and this is early game Yasuo. He's not that, huge monster that can 1v9 just yet here. So Pyron just showing his face. And
Reversio? Like, why do you... I don't know why you even do that. There's no reason. But hey, it's fine. Your nurse picks up an early kill.
Yeah, that was interesting. I think Reversio just not respecting the damage that
he
could potentially
himself.
come out there. Yeah, yes, the self-reversal there, the trap that no one sees coming, and it will hurt him a little bit. But there's a reason why people joke about that 1-0 power, that 0-10 power spike, pardon me, for Yasuo. And it's because even if he does fall behind early, it's not too bad. Once he gets his 2 item spikes, he'll still be absolutely monstrous here. And the nice thing is for your nurse, getting that first blood helps to accelerate the pace, and we will hopefully see your nurse become that team fighting monster a little bit quicker here. Level 6 for Orianna is nice. You get the shockwave, but you don't have enough damage to get that meaningful shockwave combo.
Yeah, Reversio has the tornado, but missed it. And Pyron getting a bit low. Reversio going forward now as well. Look at your nose just staggering this damage, using this minion wave, and keeping both of them here for so long. I mean, this has been so much time spent that it was Banky Kang taking the topside jungle this whole time, and now Pyron is gonna walk into a desolate field right now, random minion caster.
And I feel like things are a little reversed here. Back in game 1, it was Pirwin just constantly invading, clearing out Banky Kang's bot side jungle, and now Banky Kang's returning the favor in the top side. Things are being changed. And
they get the double knockup on a monster mash. That's a lot of damage. Everything was the other way around, but now Azudo's back with full health. The TP's now coming in. Double knockup now. Another respawn TP, but it's very late. Wave Zix has arrived, but so has the Scion. Azudo is so low, but Banky Kang coming to bring up the rear right now. They get the nice stretch line onto Wave Zix, and that's going to be Ornn taken down by Azudo of all people. And things again just completely going the way of Omega Gaming Silence.
And it feels like we're seeing game 1, except slight differences here. We're seeing the remake of game 1, because topside Koros is dominating there. Look at that CS differential. It's almost double here, and they match the teleports, and Wave 6 goes down, and that's going to cost Wave 6 even more here. He's just sitting on double Ruby Crystal against the Balmy Cinder, and bot side, Azudo was getting suppressed, but that kill is going to do lots of wonders here for Azudo. A lot of pressure, and Banky Kang getting kind of risky on the streak here.
Oh, that was such a good one. It resets, but then he gets picked right back up on the aggro table. So things still going in the favor of Omega Gaming, even the RNG of the Dragon. I guess it's not RNG, but whatever.
I mean, getting the Ocean Drake is definitely an RNG here, and it's actually pretty good for the side of Omega Gaming Silence as well, because Azudo in the bot lane here, having that sustain will help mitigate a lot of the poke coming out from Oshawott, and will help to match at least some shield as well. Pirwin?
He almost got caught by both of those. Doesn't, though. Puts them both to sleep. Now Reversio is going to have to do a lot of damage here. The Watch Out Eve comes onto your nurse. Flash forward, the Ignite. One more hit. Reversio picks it up. Then he gets the last breath on to Koros. and they will be able to take that kill as well. Pyroan getting that gold, and they are able to respond with a 2 for themselves.
Yeah, and on the two people they wanted on as well, the Lilia and the Yasuo here, they've got themselves a great skill in composition. Lilia, Yasuo, Senna, all of them scale well into the late game. So getting at any one of those members is going to be absolutely massive for them, especially Reversio here. Because we saw what happened when sort of your mid laner falls behind or gets ahead in game one here, and you can kind of split the map. And if Reversio can get ahead, we might see that happen here, except this time it will be Reversio splitting the map. So really great for him to be able to pick that up, and it really helps to even things up with this. Aqualix up in gold for what feels like the first time this series here.
Which is a good turn in momentum for them, but they got to keep it up here and continue to build these little advantages for themselves. Again, they have a lot more scaling than they did the first time around. Still do have a lot of scaling on the enemy team too. So it's a lot of these mid-game team fights are going to mean the most for both of these teams, but we still have a little while till we're going to really see those big clashes. I mean, we get an Infernal Dragon as the second dragon of the game here in about 3 minutes or so. And so until then, we're more than likely just going to get a lot of farming aside from lane trades.
Exactly here. And so if we do look at the lane trades and sort of the individual matchups so far, Koros has been doing okay in the top lane, hasn't grown his lead significantly there. So Wave 6 seems to have managed to stabilize that up. Mid lane, however, is going to get a lot more volatile. You already see Reversio playing kind of aggressively. The double Durans with the Berserker's Greaves as well is going to mean that he's stronger right now than your Nurse, despite not having any of his typical Yasuo power spikes here. So you can look to see some action there. And we have to keep paying attention to the bot lane because Azudo will be hitting 6 soon. That Inferno Trigger will become available soon as well.
Yeah, there's everything used onto Banky Kang, and he also went towards his laners. They actually get Banshito a kill off the top of that. Double Shockwave right onto the Inferno Trigger, but the triple knock up there. They get decimated. Reversio is reversing the fortunes of Aqualix right here, and Oshawott wants to capitalize on it. I don't know if he's going to be able to catch all the damage that he can onto your Nurse, but he will pick up a couple more souls here. One more shot will do it. Flash forward, but the beautiful shield going to come out, and Wavesix could begin 1v1 in the top side. Going to flash out of that one, and Choros is the one that's going to fall. So Wavesix turns that one on its head. Now Oshawott has found Banky Kang. He smited away the red. See if he can get anything more out of it. Looks like they're just going to clear some vision, and thankfully, the side of Team Aqualix does decide to pull away.
Yeah, it's really felt a feel bad moment here for the side of Omega Gaming. Top side, Koros tanks a little bit too much there in the top lane, and that helps to equalize things. Wave6 in much better position. In the bot lane, you know, speaking of those sort of dangerous team fighting champions who can really pop off, Samira, we talk so much about her, but you've got to remember the OG risky one was the Yasuo with that last breath, and Reversio on the Yasuo just came up bigger in that bot lane fight. And that's something we'll have to keep an eye on as well in these big fights, those big AoE wombo combos. Azudo has to go in as well, which means that every time Azudo is in there, he runs the risk of getting caught up in that last breath, getting in melee range of Reversio, who will just happily dive him. And he does have the wind wall to be able to match the blade roll as well. And looks like they're looking down at the bot lane again. We said it before, like this is a lane that's very volatile, and we were kind of looking at this bot lane to see what the ADCs can do, and it looks like both teams are also looking there.
It does seem like Omega Gaming will have the upper hand, at least getting down towards that bot side. Nothing comes of it though. Banjito uses the depth charge right onto Oshawott, but they don't really have the range, and they're still following this up. This isn't the fight you want to take. Banjito is going to go golden to buy some time. Azudo has to use the Blade Whirl, but doesn't block the piercing light there. And see if Banky Kang is able to get somebody here. He is going to find Reversio and expertly using his shotgun to weave around the wind wall, and he gets a shutdown.
Clean.
Oh, Azudo. That was a nice little switch up of places, but he's going to get him though. The taunt. The Winds of War, Monster Mash gonna take that one. Banjito tried to sidestep the Swirl Seed, but doesn't. Here comes Koros, though, gets one of them. Can Banky Kang take this back? This is going to be a lot of damage onto him, and that's an immediate double kill. Now Koros is in some serious trouble here. He will be the brunt of the damage for this side. And now Unstoppable Onslaught came out. Shockwave fully misses all three of them. And that is going to be doom and gloom here. If they can get more, one more shot will do it. Your nurse is going to go down to Pyroan.
Everyone got out with barely any health, and that's a testament to why Oshawott keeps going back to the center time after time after time. The healing coming up from Oshawott was absolutely disgusting in that fight. You could see that they just could not take him down. Koro's coming in, Banky Kang going for it, Azudo going for it. If you don't manage to kill Oshawott completely dead here, he will just heal back up and get back into the fight. And I need to see an executionist calling coming out from Azudo early this game, or even maybe from Banky Kang. If not, Oshawott's just going to keep doing this where he just disengages, re-engages, and he did that without summoners. His heal is almost back up. The flash should be coming back up in maybe a minute or so here, and that's going to make it so hard to lock him down. And this is the Aqualix we came to see here, and this is the team that was undefeated in the regular season.
Gotta hope they can continue that fortune here. Reversio did get the focus in the mid lane, but nothing gonna come of it. We do get a Mountain Soul in this game, random in caster, which isn't the most coveted, but I think for both of these teams, you're gonna be feeling really good. Azudo just gets taken out in the 2v2. Looks like it was actually a 1v1, as Oshawott didn't have any help in that one. Now the TP coming in. Can they turn around this play? Banky Kang did go through with it. The TP got canceled in the top side, and that's a shutdown as well, as Banky Kang picks up a kill for himself.
That was a really good cancel from Koros there, who kind of went in 1v2 to make sure he canceled that TP as well. If Wave 6 had made it down to the bot lane, I think maybe we see a bit more of a scrap, 2-for-1 maybe instead of that 1-for-1. So really well played from them. And I want to go back to the point you were talking about, the Mountain Soul here. The Mountain Soul, I think both teams have really strong tanks. You've got the Sign, you've got the Nautilus for the side of Omega Gaming, and you've got the Ornn, you've got the Galio as well. So that's going to be super good for them. But Reversio here?
He's going way in over his head here. He's all by himself, and that is still a Samira. That's multiple plays now by Reversio that are a little bit overconfident.
That feels like a holdover from game one as well. Game one, if you cast our minds back there, his Lucian got a solo kill and then was trading 1-for-1 and then started feeding a little bit where he was going for fights he had no business taking and he couldn't win. And it feels like he's kind of doing it with the Yasuo a little bit. He's had his strength and now he's kind of, you know, throwing a little bit on that. But that being said, they did get first start in the mid lane there. So it still evens out.
Oh, again, he misses the shockwave. Your nurse just not on point this time around. Monster Mash getting low. Can Banky can't get it? He decides not to. So that is... I thought they could continue that. I mean, they had Bandido coming down too, but good call by them. They're not going to overextend themselves in this play.
Yeah, and what we have to remember too is the fact that Oshawott's healing constantly in these fights as well. And you can see Oshawott's already back to full health here after that fight. And I think Banky Kang was not confident here that he could actually get the kill through the healing. There's still no healing cut yet built for the side of Omega Gaming. So they always have to take into account the healing that Oshawott's going to come back out. And I still want to talk about the Mountain Soul because I didn't really get to talk about the second part of it, which is Reversio. He likes to go in. That shield's going to be massive for him. He'll get a double shield with that. Same thing with Heroine as well. So I really do think Aqualix would love to get their hands on this Mountain Soul here.
And hopefully they can. But Lullaby will be used on to Azudo in mid lane, and he just gets erased off of Summoner's Rift.
I don't know, Mazel, I'm starting to get the feeling that maybe Samira being picked blind is not a good idea here in the series.
Yeah, it's just such a hard pick to pull off, and it needs a good composition around it. And unfortunately, the gold has kind of gotten away from them into the right pockets of the members of Aqualix, and especially the counter pick with the Senna. It's just so hard.
Yeah, I think like Samira was nerfed multiple times for a reason, but she's not necessarily completely blind pickable. And on top of that, I think it just shows the skill of these ADCs and their supports as well. That every time Samira's been picked, she's been punished in lane as well as in team fights so far. We've not really seen Azudo get a good Inferno trigger off. He did get one in the bot lane fight, but with the amount of CC they're putting down from the side of Aqualix, they know how to shut it down in a team fight, and they've been doing great for it. So they get, that Inferno Drake. Now they get Shelly as well here, and it feels like these teams really have known how to punish with Shelly so far. Last breath onto your nurse here.
I don't know if Reversio can pull it off, but he is going to need to make a run for it because he has Banjito collapsing on him. He might just look to turn it onto Banky King. Does have 4 members collapsing on him. You might have just doomed yourself to Monster Mash. Oh, he gets a nice flash. Isn't even going to use the Blast Cone, but maybe he should have because it would have put him towards his teammates. See how this is going to work out for everybody. Azudo has a very forward position right now. They get the double knockup onto him. Blade World beautifully going to stop the Ornhorn. They get the damage from Koros in the backline. Pyro and putting everybody to sleep. He gets the one. Can he get the damage down? He takes him out a rampage. Now you have Azudo cleaning house. The cleanup crew is here, and they're going to use the Inferno trigger to get a double kill onto your nurse. And now the second dragon goes down for Omega Gaming Silence.
No, it was at the cost of Shelly in the mid lane taking a turret and potentially the inhibitor turret as well. So Aqualix making good on what was a really bad initial situation there. And to be fair to Reversio as well, I had said that he was inting a little bit sometimes, but that wasn't one of them there. It was a 1v1. Your nurse stalled long enough. He had the backup from his team. And unfortunately, Reversio, what should have been a nice 1v1 there ended up being turned on its head. But the follow-up from there, like you said, Monster Mash might have kind of damned himself going in there. And they tried to do what they could in that fight. And it really shows right now that their team fights are really, really even. You cannot engage a fight without equal numbers here with any sort of confidence whatsoever. Whoever's got the more members here will probably win those fights, and you can't even disengage from them as well. The chase from both teams is pretty potent at this point of the game.
Monster Mash walks right into him, not really taking much damage here. Oshawott has arrived as well. Banjito there needs to get out because his jungler is dead. And they're taking full advantage of this now, pushing into the blue side as they take everything they can.
Yeah, and again, it's the numbers game, right? Aqualix had more people on the top side there than Omega Gaming, and so they could rotate faster here. As soon as Oshawott started applying the slows, that there was kind of no way Banky Kang was going to be able to get out of that comfortably here. So Koros has to be careful. He's tanky, but I don't know if he can defend the turret effectively here.
Not if Shockwave has anything to do with it. Oh, nice flash from gets him out.
And Wave 6 has been playing much cleaner this game. He is still down CS, is still down gold and experience as well, but it's not that one-sided beating we saw in game 1 when Force's Sion, was just split pushing and no one could match him here. So Wave 6 much better, and he just needs a bit more time to sort of scale up into the game here. We saw the impact in the fight. His Call of the Forge God got denied, but his Searing Charge there still got a 3-man knockup in that fight. And frankly, if you can get a 3-man knockup with the E, missing the L somewhat less important here. And beside the fact that Aqualix had lost the last team fight, they're still looking pretty strong right now. When we look at the gold here, they are up about 2,000 gold, 3 kills, but more importantly, they're up 5 turrets. And that tells a story of its own. They're able to more effectively sort of pressure the turrets here, play the macro a little bit better. So things are looking pretty good for Aqualix as we get into the mid game here, because macro is becoming more and more important. Baron is on the table. Drake coming up in about 2.5 minutes here. The lanes are longer as well, and there's an open inhib in the mid lane. So this is really the time for Aqualix to shine with their macro play here.
It truly is, and I think we're going to see over the next couple of minutes how that kind of plays out, but these side lanes are going to be so crucial, and it's been very, very back and forth in that case where you're getting different responses here and there, where the priorities in the lanes are being changed a little bit. But I think that once you have this next dragon spawn, if it is Omega Gaming who gets the soul point, it you gotta imagine that the pressure game from Aqualix has to be turned up, because if they allow themselves to get this objective taken out where they've had a ton of control around the map, it gets a little bit scary to think about going into that fourth dragon fight. But Koros is trying to make Wavesix hate his life up here as he is just slowly whittling him down. Luckily, he times the unstoppable that time and will not get caught.
Yeah, and I mean, Wave 6 honestly needs to kind of get used to this if he's going to keep playing the tank matchup. Either that or maybe they just put him on a carry who can deal with the Scion a little bit better, because Koros is looking like an absolute beast. Scion, not one of the meta tanks right now, but Koros is making a really good argument for why maybe teams should take a second look at this Scion pick here. And, you know, I want to talk about that, the side wave management you were talking about a little bit as well, because Reversio, for all that he's 2-4-2 and has been struggling to survive a lot of these fights, he's been winning the 1v1s, and they kind of don't have a super great option. 3-man draws in the middle lane.
That's a huge lullaby. Dawning Shadow gonna come up on top, and they deliver the wombo combo straight to the open mouths of Omega Gaming Silence. That's a triple kill for Pyro, and the last breath comes into the bot side. Big damage from the shockwave flashes from both sides yet again, and Reversio not going to be able to get the outplay. He's going to get outplayed here as he get the kill. He misses it, but he still gets one. And Baron now the focus for Aqualix.
Forget the macro play. For all the setup we talked about side lanes, it was just a force engage in the mid lane. Pirwin going bowling and picks himself up a strike there. That 3-man drowsy was massive, and even scarier was the fact that Azudo and Kang were basically taking out the fight almost immediately there. Just the combined burst damage alone forced them out of the fight, and they get so much off of that here. They get the Baron now, and they can look to just crack things open. Dragon is up as well. They can look to get that.
They're also going to catch Koros out. Can they respond to it, though? Oshawott doesn't land the root. And it looks like Dragon, the target for both teams here. They don't want to go silently into the night. It is only the second Dragon for Aqualix, so I feel like you can give this one. You don't want to overextend too much.
TP from
it looks like they don't really care. Oh, your nurse? Oh, he gets caught. He was coming up so fast using that TP, and they immediately pull the trigger and go down onto him. And now it is going to be tragedy that side of Omega Gaming Silence as they get wiped off of the map.
Oh my goodness, Koros still trying to get something on the back there. It looked good, the TP coming in. Pirwin still on the chase. Pirwin doesn't want to give this one up here. Can Benzito get away?
I don't know if it's going to be possible. Maybe with this blast cone can't get over it.
Does,
but look how fast Pyro it is. I don't know. He's still so quick. Did he get the damage? No, he doesn't get the swirl seed. But guess who's been coming up all along? Monster Mash, Banjito, head for the hills. You're gonna die. Oh, he hits the wall. No, what is happening? They're losing their inhib at the same time. Banjito's still running away, still making it. He's still in some serious trouble though. He has no idea that he's being collapsed on. Monster Mash found him again. And it continues, Random Minion Caster. Do you want to practice your play-by-play? We do see Banjito finally going down here to the duo. Oh my goodness, they missed him. Okay. I mean, we just need the clown music at that point. Pyroan is going to go on a rampage from it, though.
Yeah, and I want to point out that Monster Mash is 2 levels up from Banjito. Same with Oshawott against Azudo here. And that level lead tells a huge story here from the last couple of fights, from the macro play that's been coming up here. And that was absolutely massive. That Baron went to great use here, and they also stopped the dragon stacking that was coming out from Omega Gaming Silence, and the scaling is starting to come across here really strongly for himself. Pirwin with that Magi Soul Stealer now complete as well. 10 stacks on it already here. This is just scary for the side of Omega Gaming Silence. The good news for them, though, is that if they can start finding a couple of kills, there's a lot of bounty gold here. 500 on Pirwin, 200 on Reversio, 600 from Oshawott. And if you kill Pirwin, you get 600 and you shut down that book.
Yeah, you're still down 8,000 gold right now, though, and that is a really hard back from. I don't know how yours just made it out there, but hey, it happened.
And just stay quiet and they can't see you or hear you there. They successfully do it. The Baron buff right now has worn off, so they are done with that massive, huge push. But as you said, that Baron play, they're up now 8K after that Baron play here, so they kind of no longer need the Baron to be able to force some of these objectives here, and they can look to just punish siege up the bot lane. If a single tornado lands here, if a bowling ball lands and catches 3 again, that would be the cue for them to go in and just potentially end the game.
Yeah, Dawning Shadow is used bot side, so it pushes them off the tower, which means they're going to get another inhib if they can get a minion wave. At this point, they're just tanking the tower because I guess that's what you do. I don't know if that's the plan there because they're going to come back full health and respond to it. Luckily, Koros is able to pull something off on the top side against Wave Zix, but again, they came back and the tower still falls. That's the Drowsy as well. That's 3 members to sleep to get the double taunt. This is just going to be game, Random Minion Caster. They just take the house as the Inferno trigger does a good amount of work, but it's not going to be enough. Nice Blade Whirl, but again, not enough. The TP comes in. They're putting the nail in the coffin here and putting Dracula to sleep as the last tower will be the target. Can Koros do anything about it? The tarot cards say no, and the Nexus will be the focus. His dead body, the last remnants of hope in this game, number 2 for Omega Gaming, but it will be tied 1-1 in this best of 5. Aqualix Esports going up.
Wave Zix, they're ending the game with a bit of fireworks to call it the Forge God. More a celebration of their victory than an actual sign of, you know, trying to engage that. And that was just massive comeback from Aqualix here. They played so well, sieging up an 11-11, 22 stacks, I believe, by the end of that game for Peroin there. And Oshawott as well, 11-1-12. I think that Senna needs to stay on the ban list. Either that or don't pick the Samira. But I don't actually think that Senna has any particularly super bad matchups that Oshawott wouldn't play it into here. So, I mean, you got to think about it. There's a reason why he plays that much Senna here.
Yeah, and you obviously see it come through in this type of play. I just think that all around they showed us exactly why we knew Aqualix was in this final, and they have finally shown up. So I'm hoping this game 3 is another absolute banger of one. As we got to take a little break here, Random and Casper, get ready for that game. But after that game 2 tied 1-1, you're not going to want to miss what comes up next. We'll be right back. Welcome everyone to game number 3. We have made it to the hump. We'll have to see who takes the lead in this series as we are already getting into the draft. We do not have a switch up of sides again. It's going to be OGS on the blue side, banning away that common Hecarim, the Nidalee, and the response from Aqualix was the Gangplank.
Yeah, and these are standard bans. It feels like every game has been sort of starting the same here in the draft. But game 3 is kind of different from game 1 here, even though the score is 1-1. Everything's all tied up here. But we've seen some differences, and now we've seen 3 jungle bans all game. But this time, instead of the Karthus, it's going to be the Lilia. And I kind of think that makes a little bit more sense. Perwin's been playing more Lilia than he has Karthus. So I think, well, I say that, but last week he played 2 games of Karthus. So we'll have to see which of these late scaling AP junglers is scarier here for the side of Omega Gaming Silence.
Yeah. We're going to see the same thing for game 3, aren't we?
It's kind of looking like
OGS here.
I mean, I do think we'll see a switch up in the ADCs, or we'll see if Samira gets picked. I think she gets picked later here because both teams have now tried out the opposing bot lanes, and they kind of know that they get punished.
Yeah, I mean, so far it just feels you can't play Samira in this one, and that's unfortunate. But there are other plays. Like I haven't seen Jhin once. And Jhin is like one of the most played champions right now, which makes me a little sad because I used to be a unique Jhin player. Now I'm just 1 in a million. But I'm. It's obvious the comfort is coming through here, but it's also them trying to kind of force play styles in this best of 5, which can come to a benefit, especially when you're building up to the later parts of the playoffs. But this is winners finals, and you want to book that ticket to grand finals. You got to be getting all the comfort you can and making sure you can execute these compositions. And execution is going to be the name of the game here as Aqualix get that Senna yet again.
Yeah, and I think while Samira is not blind pickable, Senna certainly is here. So for Oshawa, and I really hope they have a proper answer this time because Oshawott Senna just was not punished. The healing came through clutch multiple times throughout that game here. So there you go, Mazel. I don't know if you called a Caster's Curse there when you're complaining you didn't see it, but hey, if you're trying to reverse Caster's Curse, it worked because the Jhin lock in here. I like that matchup. That's a very standard, you said, very meta matchup in the current sort of state of the world here. So yeah, definitely going to be a very different game, I think, now that Samira is not going to show up and the Karthus now for Aqualix. I mean, why not? Karthus serves a very similar purpose to the Lilia, skills up really nicely, and I think having that Requiem ability to call down death anywhere on the map is going to be so impactful for them.
Indeed it is, and I just have to appreciate that Karthus pickup again for Aqualix because that late game scaling is so scary, and we haven't exactly made it to the late game yet. Random videocaster, so that worries me a little bit.
That's true.
The last game was like 28 minutes or so. I like what Omega Gaming are doing. They're putting the onus more on winning those skirmishes, winning those lanes, getting ahead early, and pushing that advantage. And with the pace that we've seen already in the series, that's right in line with it. Where it is the side of Aqualix who are trying to change up the meta a little bit, trying to go for those 40-minute games and get that late game scale.
Yeah, and to be fair to Aqualix too, despite picking champions that scale really well, they've actually, like you said, it was a 28-minute game. We didn't go to late game. Aqualix knows how to push a lead as well, so it feels like a lot of times when they opt to go sort of this Lilia, this Karthus pickup for Perwin, that's late game insurance more than anything else here, so that when things don't go well, they have the late game. And Senna scales amazingly well, but I don't want to call it late game insurance with him because Oshawatt's already shown that he can use it to punish really early, and even in the mid game as well, he can really accelerate the pace of the game. And it almost feels like having double support sometimes in the mid game here with that Senna when you've got the Galio as well. And we do see the support bans coming out for Aqualix here, so they're trying to make sure that they can't punish the Senna too hard.
Hopefully not. I do like these bans though as well. The Lucian reversed yo. Trying to make it come back for game number 1. I mean, he did kind of try to carry on that pick in game number 1, so maybe. But
this is why I was very hesitant. Syndrome was still open.
Exactly.
And it was the Grave Syndrome, which just absolutely stifled Reversio in game one here. They literally had nothing to stop it from happening. They've picked, well, or potentially maybe it's a Senna Lucian bot lane. They could still flex it. We did talk about it. And in game one, it wasn't a great idea because there was the Caitlyn to punish the Lucian, but this time it's the Jhin here. And Jhin can be exploited by a Lucian depending on how that goes here. Though Senna Lucian into a Jhin Nautilus, maybe not the most punishing bot lane, but at least the Lucian should be fine.
They do get a powerhouse of a double lock in there in those last two, and they get the Nautilus too. So that is a very scary lane to go up against, especially at that level 3 mark with the Jhin, because you will die if you get caught out. And Senna does not have the early game damage to deal with the Jhin until you get that combination down. I'm really interested at what this last pick is going to be, because it's going to be hugely pivotal for the bot lane and how they want to play. They go with the Galio again.
Okay, so I mean, at this point, most likely the Lucian mid and Galio support that we've seen before. I'm the Galio Senna worked well last game into the Nautilus Samira, but like you said, this time it's a Jhin who has a lot of burst damage, who has range as well to be able to match a little bit to trade back. So I think the bot lane is going to be a lot more even this time. And we're not necessarily going to see Oshawott be able to leverage quite as much strength. That's it, Oshawott on the Senna. I mean, you can never count out the Senna. So the bot lane should go even at least, I think. But when I look at the team compositions, somebody in chat mentioned that OGS needs to win in 25 minutes. And it's kind of true here. You've got the Ornn, you've got the Senna, you've got the Karthus. That's a lot of late scaling here. The ornaments coming through to upgrade those two further. And having past 25 minutes against the Karthus, you kind of need to start buying things like Banshee's Veil, Edge of Night, or Zhonya's, or Guardian's Angel. Something defensive to be able to survive that Requiem, or else he just presses R. He doesn't even need to wait for the fight to end. He can open a fight by pressing the R, and suddenly Syndra, Jhin, Graves, all of you guys will be less than half health right off the bat. So it definitely is going to be an Omega Gaming silence to push the tempo of the game, but they're going to be running into the Lucian here. And the Galio in the bot lane negates a lot of the strength of the Nautilus as well. So yeah, it's looking, I like the draft from Aqualix quite a bit this game, but when you look over at Omega Gaming, they've got a lot of early to mid game pick potential, kill strength as well. We already saw what happens when Syndra Graves gets rolling on a Lucian here, and they can just repeat that and just do it again and just absolutely crush Reversio. If they get far ahead and out, that scatter the weak hits like a truck.
Well, and we saw the kind of back and forth there in that game, number one, right? We saw Reversio on the Lucian actually pressuring in your nurse the entire game, almost, at least the entire early game. That game was only like 22 minutes, but for about 10-15 minutes, he was doing really well in the lane. He was providing that priority, and that's how they were able to get so far ahead on the Lilia with Pyro in. They got these triple buffs, they got all this pressure in the jungle, they were stealing camps left and right, but there comes a time in every Summoner's Rift game that has a Syndra that you just get to turn on the go buttons and jet. And so it is hard to fathom this matchup going differently, but maybe they get a little bit of influence because they're not going to have that Lilia anymore. They're not going to have that very active presence, always in your face Lilia. They're going to have the Karthus who likes to sit behind and press his own R button.
Well, I mean, there is a build of Karthus which likes to get up and
where
in
you
your
just go and sacrifice. Yeah. That's fine. That's late game. That's not early game. You're not gonna see him like going up. Oh, I'm gonna contest you for your whole jungle. Like that's gonna be. If I see that, I mean, hey, Pyroan's making some next level plays, I guess.
I mean, you can't kill him if he's already dead, right? He can still farm from beyond the grave. But yeah, no, definitely.
You die and then you take the red buff so it doesn't transfer. It's the ultimate BM play.
Go and you can smite and everything. But yeah, no, you're definitely right in that Pyroan on this Karthus will definitely have a much harder time in getting in there and really trying to trade. But then again, Karthus also has really quick clear. And we've already seen that Pyroan's not afraid to go in and sort of steal jungle creeps away when he thinks he can get away with it, sometimes even when he can't. But he's willing to go in for that. And Karthus clears it so quickly. He can go and sneak the Raptors and run away, or go in, take your chickens, get out, steal a buff, get out. So Pyroan might do that, or he can just sit back and farm up a storm here. His lanes are fairly independent. He doesn't exactly have necessarily the best gank setup in the mid lane here because Reversio has no CC, but Yeah, Reversio should be safe. A lot of Reversio's death, we have to note that Reversio dies a lot, but it's rarely that he gets caught out in lane and dies. It's more like he goes in, overextends, and dies. So if Reversio plays a little bit more carefully, doesn't look to necessarily dominate the lane, he probably won't die as quite as much. And even if he did, like I said, in game one, he did apply a ton of pressure. He was trading kills at the very minimum. He got the first solo kill onto your nurse as well in this exact same matchup. So Pirwin can just sit back, farm up a storm, and become that late game suicide bomber as well. That's an option. So like I said, I like the composition from Aqualix, and so it just feels like it's really down to Omega Gaming, and mid lane just feels like the most exploitable lane right now.
It definitely does, and hopefully this kind of play forward in this game. But it's funny, we see so much. I don't know. We see these names so much in the games, Wave 6 and Koros, and it's kind of fun because they most of the time are just spinning it on this island up here, but they picked this combination. Like Scion by Koros has been played all 3 games,
Yeah.
which has, I mean, the first game had the most damage in the game, but the last game didn't have that big of an influence. I'm wondering why the choice is to just continue to stick with the Scion. Is it this pivotal pick for Koros? Do they just really like it in the team fight? Because you have this Orin who provides that extra scaling for everybody else and does pretty dang well himself.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the question is just, can it match? Is the only question here. But definitely, you're right. I mean, so far it doesn't really feel like they've had a proper answer to Koros throughout all the games. Even in game 2, when Omega Gaming Silence did lose, it wasn't off Koros, that's for sure. Koros was still really, really, really strong. So yeah, I mean, so now you've got that trinity in the top side. You've got Koros, you've got Banky Kang, you've got your nurse, who, you know, they've got sort of the better picks in lane here in the early game. So yeah, a lot of pressure on them to perform. And, you know, I kind of said in game 1, but Banky Kang and Koros, their performance throughout the season has been less stable, less consistent here, but they have very, very high highs. And while they have low lows so far in this series, Koros and Banky Kang have been playing really, really well. So if they get far ahead enough, then maybe they just, you know, that maybe they can end the game. Maybe they pull a 22, 23 minute sort of game here.
Well, I'm excited to see how it all turns out, who takes the pace and the lead here in this best of 5, but we got to take a little break before we do, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. The third time of the evening, and not the best time because we still have the rest of the best of 5 series to go. But to try to cut it short, looks like these teams want to tussle early on, Random Minion Caster.
Yeah, and so far we've constantly seen Aqualix setting up that defensive stack, and
They win
it's a
this.
5v4.
I
Reverse
don't
on there.
know if Qualix win this. This is a really rough time. They're all grouped up. That's the 5-man taunt there. Monster Mash gets out. Pangino goes back in. Kronos goes down. That feels so bad to have the advantage and not come out on top. Banky Kang is getting low. He's going to get rooted. It is absolute chaos here, RMC, as Monster Mash is going to fall. It is 2-2, tied up 1 minute into the game.
I love this. This is the level 1 invade I wanted to see, and it's even better that it was a full 5v5. And honestly, I didn't think Aqualix was going to win that either. They were down a man, but because of the bush, because of the way they were the ones seeing the initiation there, they actually ended up winning that. Yeah, that was absolutely massive. And you know what's even scarier here? I might not have seen all the action that happened there because everybody was doing their own thing, but Pirowin got first blood, and that is going to be scary. We talk about that late game Karthus here.
Yeah.
You give him more gold. Karthus already clears really quickly. If he gets his items even faster here, he clears like an absolute madman. And the last thing you want to see is a level 6 Karthus show up on the map when you are not level 6 yet.
You definitely don't want that. As soon as that Requiem comes down, you're like, oh no. But Pyroan does need to be a little careful. He's a little bit low on health. He'll be fine though. He just has to be really cautious, because one thing that Banky King can do, and the thing that Karthus players all around the world hate, is getting invaded. Because you just want to farm, you don't want to care about anything else. And guess what Banky King is doing? He is farming it up. He's got a decent amount of the blue side jungle from Pyro in here. He got the blue buff and the Gromp. And it's a bit unfortunate of a start. He did get that first blood, so he's still feeling really good, but the jungle pace is definitely leaning towards Banky King.
Yeah, and taking that blue buff is absolutely massive as well.
But 1v2, I don't think he knew that they were there. He knew that they were roaming, but they still get the damage. Look at the shotgun shots. Banky King pulls it away and gets a kill for himself. The collapse was too slow, and they don't capitalize on it.
Yeah, and that was highly unfortunate as well. Perun had to take the long way around, and he was low and was not super high on mana either. We talked about how slow Karthus is, how much he doesn't want to duel, and that's exactly why there. So Banky Kang really making some great moves in the early game there. While Perun got first blood, Banky Kang's picked up 2 kills and an assist and his blue buff, and that's really, really going to hurt the jungle Karthus to not have blue buff.
It definitely is, and that farm is going to be very affected by that as well, because you're just not going to be able to hard press these jungle creeps into submission just yet, because your mana pool is going to be a bit rough. But good stuff by Banky King, realizing where his ins are, realizing where he can get these little victories, and doing just that in this game so far.
Yeah, and that's exactly, what we discussed about what Omega Silence needs to do here. They need to get ahead, and we talked about that top side, the 3 players there, Koro, Banky Kang, and Yorners having the favorable early matchups. They need to hugely take advantage of it, and this is a great start for them. Koros, we've already seen him punish almost every single game, so he's been able to continue doing that this game as well a little bit.
Hey, just get Monster Mash there, and it's the lane, like... We said it in the draft, RMC. They are looking to win this lane. They need to win. That's why they picked up the Jhin and the Nautilus. That is what this combination do. And Monster Mash just thinks he can engage on that, thinks he can take that down. And the CC layered in with the damage from the Jhin. And now you're just seeing the follow-up here. Banjito gets very low. But Azudo just able to put down that damage and do so well on this Jhin this early on.
Yeah, and we talked a bit about Oshawott on this center here, and we already said that Oshawott may be able to get out of lane without being punished too hard here. They have to range. Galio is a fairly solid pick into the Nautilus, but like you said, you can't just walk into that. You have to play defensively in this lane, get your poke down, kind of try and out-sustain that Jhin. You do not win a fight like that just all inning them. And I think that was just Monster Mash kind of not respecting the fact that
Yeah.
the Nautilus is in the bush, because you know that Nautilus is probably sitting in a bush somewhere. You just know which bush, and hopefully, I don't expect to see that mistake repeat itself here from Monster Mash. I think it was a bit of a slip, and it does put them in a bit of a deeper hole. But if there is a lane that can soak that pressure well, it is going to be the bot lane here for the side of Aqualix. And Inferno now is on the table here. And I think more than how the lane's been going, I want to see vision coming down around this dragon here, because I feel like whoever gets the vision is going to be able to control the Drake.
Indeed it is, but so far it is Banky Kang in control. He's driving this car around, and it's going to be taking this Infernal Dragon. And that's going to be a really nice dragon to get, especially for the first one, as you're going to get that extra damage increase. And yes, it's not going to be the Infernal Dragon's soul, but we'll see how it works out. Pyroan might be looking for a gank here, still only level 4. As the Unstoppable Onslaught is used, Koros might not have wanted to use that. He flashes, still gets knocked up, and that's going to be the kill handed right into Pyroan's pocket.
Yeah, really nice, easy kill there. Unfortunately, the Unstoppable charge didn't get him out to safety, pardon me. And once that kind of failed, he was kind of shafted, and that's yet another kill going to Pyroan's pocket there. But look at the CS differential between Pyroan and Banky Kang. That early invade, that is the impact it had. He's so far behind, not 6, and Banky Kang is. So that nightmare of an early Karthus Requiem out of nowhere has been bypassed, or at least just delayed a little bit. But it will be coming, and my eyes are going to want to see where and how Pyroan utilizes this Requiem, because that is the ultimate test here of the communications for the side of Aqualix. Knowing when and how to maximize that damage across the lanes here.
And you got to have somebody do with little statistics in the back of your brain at this point in the game, right? And you're just trying to find these little advantages. And I just think that the composition is really coming to fruition right now for Omega Gaming, and we're going to see Oshawott have to flash out down here on the bot side because he got everything used on top of him, and the CC wave of damage, they're coming for it. He gets knocked back. Here comes the curtain call. That's 1 to Banky Kang. Make it 2. I'm not sure if this is Donkey Kong or League of Legends, because he is smashing right now on the Rift.
Why not both then? I'm getting flashbacks to game 1 here. This was the exact same gank they pulled in game 1 repeatedly. Uriners, Banky Kang, go down to the bot lane. You shove it in, you punish, you dive. It's that simple, and now Pyroan has to be careful.
He's down 2 levels on Banky Kang and is just going to die in the bot side. That is not something you would expect, and a very, very bad turn for Aqualix.
That was just so dirty there. The CC chain, the damage. Pyroan stood no chance. He is now finally level 6 after dying there and getting some of the minions. So Requiem is online, but it is going to be really rough, because if the lanes are even, the Requiem is absolutely huge for them. But when you're so far behind, the only lane right now that's kind of doing pretty well for itself is Reversio in this mid lane here. So I expect to see, maybe a bit more attention paid to the mid lane. Reversio's ahead. Continue to snowball him ahead here. He's having a much better game than game 1 on this Lucian versus Syndra. And they also have the option of slowly scaling up. We've already said Aqualix has the better late game. They just need to actually reach that point here.
Pyroan has gotten to level 6 now. We'll find Banky Kang. Look at the flash forward from him, though. He gets the collateral damage. One more shot. He gets them. Here comes the Requiem, I'm sure, though. Yep, here comes it down. Is it going to get the damage off? It doesn't do the 300 damage necessary to kill your nurse, who will be healing up. Now, Reversio, they don't know they're completely surrounded. Banky Kang gets oh no! Oshawott as well, getting the solo kill on the bot side. He is down and dusted, and the gold goes into Koros' pocket. Top side is completely dominated by the rest of the squad. And Omega Gaming have resurrected after game number 2, and they come out swinging.
Yeah, swinging's putting it lightly here. And, we're just talking about scaling and can they do it? Right now, things aren't looking good. 10-4 right now, and we've already seen Omega Gaming, when they get a lead, they know how to snowball. They don't ever let up on the gas pedal. They just keep on going here. And that's what we're seeing, the lane swaps that they chose to do. Azudo might get caught here.
Zudu
TP.
is definitely caught. I don't know if the TP is going to do anything here. Chorus is a pretty tanky person, but another TP in response is Wave Zix, as Banjito has arrived as well. Could this Ornhorn be the change in the game? Curtain Call is going to come through. Look at the shots going right through onto Oshawott. He gets sniped out in the middle of his entire team. He had his whole front line with them, and it doesn't matter because they're all gonna fall too, random minion caster. Banky Kang is definitely in some trouble, but they end up turning it back around. It's a 3-4-2.
Oh,
Make
the
him
Johnny.
more. Make him, oh, the double flash. Good stuff.
That amazingly well played from Mizuno. The reflexes there to flash out immediately from that Q. That the Volcanic Rupture moves really quickly too. So great play from him, and the Dawning Shadows from Ocelot just barely filled it. What was Mizuno there? Like 10 health, 20 health? So close. And somehow Omega Gaming Silence come out ahead. Like you said, definitely Azuno got caught, but he survived. He did not go down, even though he was the one getting caught out there. And it just feels like Omega Gaming Science have suddenly turned on their engines here right off the bat. They've just been going hard, and they've gotten the advantage in every single lane. This dragon here, the Mountain Drake that just spawned, should be theirs, and that's going to be damage. That's going to be tankiness. That's going to be a lot of combat stats going to their pockets here.
And it's never a place you want to be in, because now Pyron really has no presence on the map. I mean, is trying to scavenge gold everywhere he can. He's still down 2 levels. He's down a huge amount of farm, 30 to be exact. And it's just so hard to play from behind as a Karthus, because you don't feel worth it, and you feel like you have to engage. You feel like you have to be there because the enemy team is always in your jungle. You know, you need to respond to these things. But what you're not realizing is you're getting further and further behind in XP, and it's just not going to matter in the end. Middle tower is going to be the next focus. That Rift Herald nicely used. I don't know if they actually get it, but Banky Kang looking to make the flank here.
Yeah, and they don't quite manage to take it. Banky Kang, there's too many people there for him to effectively dive. But going back to your point about losing the experience, Piron's about almost just shy of 2 levels behind Banky Kang here right now. So that level gap is actually fairly large. And on top of that, Jungle no longer has rubber banding in terms of experience. So Piron needs to find farm, needs to find experience somewhere, anywhere, but his laners are probably not inclined to share any experience with him right now. Reversio trying his hardest to try and find a lead. He was the only lane which wasn't completely sunk at the end of laning phase there. So he wants to continue trying to split push, apply pressure, and be able to handle your nurse in the 1v1. Oshawott wants and needs to scale on this Senna, wants the souls, wants the items as well. And Wave 6 right now, maybe you go and try and take some farm from Wave 6, your tank, but even then, I think it's really rough. Koros is down a level, down a bit of experience, but he's manhandling Wave 6 right now on the side. He's happy to go 1v1 in the side lane, no fear whatsoever. So Piron, and is Oshawott... Oh no, Oshawatt's just taking the souls. I thought Oshawott was going to steal this. I was going to say, that's super brutal for Piron if his lanes are taxing his jungle to try and get this right now. Yeah, it's super rough, and Reversio has to be careful. He has no magic resistance here, and your nurse hurts.
It really does. Luckily, Pyron is getting to the stage, just fought the Magi's, I guess. Getting to the stage where he can burn through the jungle really quickly. Unfortunately, Reversio, that is the fate of anybody that runs into the press R button boss that is Syndra in the later parts of the game. Actually, it's not even later parts of the game. It's only 14 minutes in the game, but it feels like it's the later parts of the game, random minion caster, because of how this game has gone already. We have 20 kills at 14 minutes, and it's going to be an under tower dive and a party onto Oshawott. The tower falls, but so is the support. Monster Mash is down. Curtain Call comes out. Can they get the kills? They just get the extra damage on there because of the collateral damage there. And they do not pull away the kills, because it's just a little bit overeager under the bots, or under the mid tower. But topside has to be responded to, because Wave 6 has just been pushing up there.
Yeah, and that's going to be hugely beneficial for Wave 6 here, the solo experience. He's trying to maintain his level lead. And for the Ornn, he's just trying to level as quickly as he can here. He wants to hit 13, where he can start upgrading items here, and then he'll have a much better time of it. And we've seen this song and dance for the Scion Ornn back in Game 2. We know how that goes, and he's going to get completely forced off there. And you said that it feels like it's so much later in the game, and we keep saying that every time Omega Gaming Silence gets a lead, a significant lead, that is how it feels. Now, I'm going to look at Oshawott for a second. He's only at 24 souls here. 15 minutes, not ideal, and his mana immune right now is only halfway stacked. So they're in a huge power trough for the next couple of minutes here. They literally cannot fight anywhere on the map. Reversio has now shown he cannot handle the 1v1 either. So they just need to sit back and seed the next dragon, seed the next herald, and just desperately try and farm back up. You mentioned the Medjais from Purwin. I do want to say I actually personally like building Medjais when you're far behind, when you've fallen behind as a jungle or mid laner, because if you keep dying, it doesn't matter anyways. Whereas if you start making a comeback, then you snowball faster. You have a slightly better chance of coming back. So we'll have to see if that's ultimately how it works here. But I don't know.
I think Reversio just wanted to test the waters and see how much damage he did and realize he did. He's like, okay, well, I'm going to rethink this plan. Can we get somebody else down here? At least he can clear the waves, though. Oh,
yeah, but he has to be careful for the engage as well. The unstoppable onslaught, that was exactly how Oshawott died before, not respecting that. If Koros gets on top of Reversio, he's kind of done. Teleport coming in, they're going to try to fight that.
They got Oshawott. That's everything used, though, from your nerf. It around. That's a big Ornhorn. Rift Herald was spawned mid lane. The fight's going to continue. Monster Mash is just by himself. They can't get the tank. Koros, I mean, is taking everything. Banky Cage flashing over the wall to try and get the kills. The Requiem gets absolutely nothing. And it is all day long. Omega Gaming Silence just putting up the numbers.
My goodness. And it looked like nobody was really low except for Koros there. But I want to point out, Koros right now might look kind of low. He's got about 300 health, and that shield on him is absolutely chunky there. It's just so difficult for everyone to find any kills. And his original 2 stacks on the Medjais is now completely reset. It's definitely not that efficient right now, and they're just losing everything. The next Drake will be Soul here, Cloud Soul, and where normally that's not that impactful. If a team is ahead, Cloud Soul is just, a win harder soul there. It just helps you win that much harder, chase down, win fights as well. And I think right now their only hope is going to be pretty much looking at the Baron here, potentially looking to try and catch out the side of Omega Gaming at the Baron. When they're getting shredded by Baron, you get a huge, massive wombo combo team fight, and they sit in the middle of that defile, because I'm not even sure they can find catches right now. It hasn't worked for them so far.
I completely agree. They've got to find another way to play this game, or they are just going to go silently into game number 4 at a deficit. And with a focus towards this topside jungle here for Omega Gaming, you wonder how they're going to close this trap.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a trap. And I mean, you've got the outer turret, the inner turret standing in the top lane as well. And that is, to me, I think what they're trying to set up as bait here, because those turrets here are no longer safe. They can just dive you freely. They've shown that here. So I think Aqualix really recognizing that and not even going to try and attempt this top side, maybe Reversio. Oh, okay.
Does find him out, luckily.
Yeah, good Ardent Blaze to catch them out there. I was getting a little concerned. We've seen Reversio do that before, where he doesn't respect and he just walks up. So, but he's learning the respect. That's good. And
it bodes well. Top though. Yeah. That's a bit unfortunate. They spent a lot of time dealing with that predicament in the topside jungle, and they lose an outer tower.
Yeah, and frankly, that outer turret was completely indefensible at that point. If you go up there, it's that trap that you mentioned, Mazel, where they'll just find you in the jungle, kill you. Or if you try and go in the turret and anybody's there alone or in twos, if you don't have at least 4 people, you're going to die under the turret. So wise play from them. They give it up. They're going to defend this inner turret instead, which is a lot easier to defend, a lot more defensible. Now, Baron is coming up in 30 seconds here. Wave 6 does not have teleport for roughly about maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes here. So they can't leave Wave 6 to split push, the bot lane if they're looking to try and fend off this potential Baron take. They'll need everybody there to do that here. And when we look at the items as well, the items topside, Wave 6, only the Sunfire Cape completed right now. You compare that to Koros with the Adaptive Helm as well. And that's a full item down. Jungle is a similar story as well. It feels like everywhere they're down items.
It does look so, but your nurse is going to be down in a life as the shutdown goes into the dead man's pocket. Pyroan will take that gobble up and put it right into his AP stores, hopefully, as he gets another Magi stack.
Yeah, I mean that's good that they gifted him the kills, because not only is he sort of your one of your big skilling late game hyper carries, but also he's got the Medjais here. I don't know if it'll be enough though, and they're clearing out the vision, but Pirouette's on his own.
He is. Can they catch him? Do not. Whoa.
Oh, he hit the
I don't know if
turn.
he actually. I think he meant to attack the. Yeah, he's just gonna die. That collateral
my
damage almost did. He still does. Oh, series of unfortunate events indeed. As Oshawat's gonna be very, very lucky to get out of there at least, and the Baron is started up here.
Yeah, and that's going to be a free Baron right now. With Pirouette dead, that's not only your jungler and your smite not existing here, but he's also a huge part of their team fight damage. In a choke point like the Baron Pit, normally Karthus is an absolute nightmare, but if he's not there, what do they have? They've got the Call of the Forge God, you've got, a bit of AoE from Wave 6 there. Reversio doesn't have AoE, Oshawott not a ton of AoE either here, and that's just... that's a bit of a rough one. And now with Baron buff, they were already struggling before. Now you can't even defend your inner turrets either. The mid lane inhibitor down to about a third of its health. You can just brute force this. And with Cloud Soul coming up in 30 seconds, it just feels like everything is spawning Omega Gaming's way here.
So far, so good as they head into a possible Dragon Soul. This positioning from both teams is going to come down to this pit. You actually see Pyron go on top, so apparently not. If they just want to take this, they get a free soul.
Yeah, and I kind of understand where they're coming from at this point. Like, you don't win any fight on open ground. You're down about 9,000, pardon me, gold here, and when so much of it's on the jungler, you've got a 3-level difference. If you can't kill Banky Kang, Pirouette's basically not going to be able to take any sort of challenge here. He's down about 130 true damage at this point, which is pretty significant for junglers who play in the sort of 20 health region here. And Pirouette,
and that is the life bar of Pyroan going down. Are we going to get the salty Requiem? Does not like we are. So they just take the tower, they take the life of the jungler, and they're pushing into the base now with this Baron buff. I don't know if they can be stopped.
It's kind of risky to find a turret. This is like one of the few situations in which they would potentially lose a team fight here. And they have a lot of standing gold. They can always just rotate to a different lane, just pick up the turrets here. And that's just a bunch of gold. They're just opting to let Toro stack that. The man has no fear. The turrets don't really do that much to him at this point.
Yeah, the bot side tower is now the main focus for Omega Gaming. Can they do the damage to it? Does look like it. Now they're looking for another tower. Look at that inhib. They want to get 2 lanes of super minions, but they might have overextended. As the Ornhorn comes down, there's a big TP from Sion right in the middle of the backline. This is huge. This is going to be a big turnaround fight. Taunt coming down. Monster Mash already low. Dawning Shadow doesn't do anything. The curtain call is going to come out. Doesn't get the second shot. Waiting to take the third. Might just buy a little bit of time. That was the fourth, sorry. Collateral damage is going to secure it on to the Karthus. Requiem, again, not going to do anything. I don't think he's gotten a single kill with that ulti yet. And the tower's looking worse for wear in the middle here, as they could just go for the end.
At this time, they can potentially look to just take down all the Nexus turrets.
Oh, no. Yeah,
I
think
didn't even
that's just going to be it. They do have Monster Mash back. They actually pull off. All right, the smart play so far. The scatter of the week went the wrong way, though. I don't know if you knew that. Taunt could land. Oh, they get the flash. Double taunt. Can they get the damage to follow it up? Monster Mash is going to die again. And look at Azudo. He's taking the onus here onto Reversio, and he gets him. Can Pyroan make a difference? He's all by himself. He said, guys, I just got up. What happened?
Oh, man. And he's going to be all alone here on the Rift. Oshawott just spawned, but everybody else is going to be a while. And the only... Well, The silver lining, if I can even call it that, the very rusted sort of steel lining on this is that there was no other objectives for them to take at this point. So at least Omega Gaming will not get anything after they take 2 inhibitors and one of the Nexus turrets here. And that gold lead is now over 10,000. They did get the Cloud Soul earlier as well. And the snowball is just growing. They are going to go back and buy. They had so much gold in their pockets. Banky Kang still sitting on 3,000 gold here in his pocket that he can go back and spend 12, 1, and 6. Azudo 0, 7, 0, and 13, and Pirwin right now. I feel like every time the camera pans over to Pirwin, I just see him in his ghost form.
Yeah, just see if they can actually go for the end here. You see pings coming down. I like that they are giving Koros the reign of the top side still and like trying to get that in just in case, you know, the main plan doesn't work out. You always have the backup plan. But the thing is, they're pushing this far up into the base. They don't even have Banky Kang, and it looks like Aqualix know that, and they're going to go right in. Unstoppable onslaught right to the background. Again, he's delivered to everyone that matters. Dawning Shadow is forced out, and still Oshawott goes down. Curtain Call trying to get Reversio, isn't going to hit the shots, but it is Monster Mash who follows next. It looks like this could just be it. Random minion caster. They are going to press into the Nexus. They will take the last shots, and it will be Omega Gaming Silence going up 2-1 in the series as we get to go to a wonderful game number 4.
I mean, these games feel so one-sided, but the series feels so close here between both of these teams, and it really, where do I even start with this one here? Pirwin with that Karthus, a lot of our fears kind of came true with how that early game would go, and Pirwin just felt like he got run over there. You can see the damage graphs on the stream there, and Pirwin did do the most damage, but I wish there's a way to see how much damage he did while alive versus dead, because I feel like he died incredibly quickly, and a lot of that damage, a lot of his kills and his assists came from sort of post-death damage there and kills. So that Karthus pick definitely not exactly a replacement for the Lilia. And the other lane I wanted to introduce is the bot lane, Oshawott and Monster Mash. In lane, they actually didn't do that badly. Yes, Monster Mash kind of made a bit of misplay. They were down CS, but it's really what happened outside of the lane. Monster Mash and Oshawott had very, very little impact. Monster Mash, heroic entrance, a very, very quick exit. Almost every time he goes in, he was not tanky enough to survive Azudo at all. And Oshawott just couldn't even get there to get any damage. It felt like every time he went in, we instantly saw the ultimate, the depth charge coming out from Benjito there to hunt him down. And if he got CC'd even once, he was dead. So what I feel like the takeaway lesson for Aqualix in this is kind of like, don't pick the Lucian if the Syndra and Graves are open, number one. And number two, you need to draft, I think, a bit more strength in your early game. You can't afford to have this many losing lanes. And yes, I consider the Ornn versus Sion a losing lane. That man's a monster, and he's won every single tank v tank matchup where he's got Sion so far.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if we get to see it game number 4. I wonder how much we see change going into this next draft, but you're going to have to stick around a little bit longer as we take a little break and get ready for that game. We'll be right back. Hope you didn't stray far because we are already back and we are here for game number 4. Will we see Omega Gaming Silence complete the series here and book their ticket to the grand finals, or will Aqualix bring us to that sweet, sweet silver scrapes? We'll have to see on the other side of this. But first, we have the picks and bans. I am Mazel, joined by my favoriteest minion caster, the random one. We have Heckram, Nidalee, Lilia off the board for OGS on the blue side. It's not changing. I just want to let everybody know that we're not changing sides. Elise and Caitlyn and Graves off the board for Aqualix. Some differences coming through here.
Yeah, and the main one I think being the Graves ban against Banky Kang here. He's had his pick of that Graves every single game, the same way they've had blue side every single game. And I want to see if this changes enough. I was actually hoping personally that Aqualix just throws everything out and just comes back a new thing, because so far it's the picks haven't strayed that much. We're getting minute modifications from game to game, and are we back to this again? Samira. But this time into the Jhin, so definitely not as bad a matchup as what we saw the last 2 times Samira was picked here. I do want to see what supports they pair with, though, because I feel like in this particular matchup, it's going to be a lot about the supports.
Ooh, they get that all coveted Samira Pantheon. The only thing is Jhin has that range, and he does have the timing between the shots, which I think a well-versed Jhin player can use that to their advantage against this Blade World, because you're not losing. Like, the thing is with the Blade World, you're going against some fast attacking champions down here on the bot side. So like you're going against an Ashe or a Caitlyn or things like that. That Blade World is going to get so much more value because you're blocking more shots. You're blocking more of that incoming damage. With the Jhin, the time takes longer between the shots. You only block 1 or 2. He could just hold it and wait for that little bit of extra time, because the Blade World doesn't last very long. And so if this lane plays out how OGS want, they're going to have a very strong presence down here with the Targ. This is the kind of combo that you want to go with against the Samira Pantheon, but it's all about who gets the advantage in the lane and the specific little minute things that both these ADCs are going to do in this game for.
Yeah, and this bot lane, another aspect of it is just the sheer amount of damage negation here. We talked about the Blade Roll, but Pantheon with the Aegis Assault as well can block another bullet or 2 from Jhin. And Taric with the Cosmic Radiance, there's just so much nullification here in the bot lane, and that's going to affect a lot of the all-ins as well. Post 6, pre-6, Samira Pantheon though are going to be absolutely frightful, and they do somehow find their way onto the Jhin here. Azudo is going to be in for a world of hurt, and these are some of the changes I want to see. J4 coming through here for the side of Aqualix, so they've got themselves now that Colosseum, that big sort of wombo combo set up here. I want to see what they draft for their top lane and their mid lane. So far, we've seen a lot of tanks coming up from Wave 6 in the top. It's not worked against the Sion. Koros has gotten the Sion yet once again here, so I want to see something a little different, and gonna wait a bit for confirmation. That was an Olaf ban coming out from the side of Aqualix, so no jungle pick for Banky Kang yet, and because Graves was banned, we have yet to see what else he wants to bring onto the Rift tonight.
Yeah, and it's kind of setting us up for a very different game number 4 after we've already seen 3 back-to-back-to-back. And the J4, I mean, you kind of have to go with something like this, with this composition, because you need to continue to layer that hard CC to pair well with the Samir. And the more opportunities you have of that, the better. And I think the lockdown there, as you're saying, the Colosseum, if you will, is going to be really good for the composition that OGS have drafted, because you have this Jhin who can't get out of that without a flash.
Yeah, and we'll have to see if it does backfire a little bit as well, because Pantheon can't really get out either. Samira might be able to slide out, but that's if she hasn't already used her slide, and I'm not sure exactly how that interaction works. So I like this last ban coming up from the side of Qualix. The fact that they're banning Syndra means that Omega either has to ban the Lucian, or they have to risk or they'll have to find a different counter to it here, because they banned the Set, and so far Reversio's 2 most played mid lane champions are the Lucian and the Set, and instead they're hovering the Camille. So they're targeting Wave 6 instead a little bit here. Let's see what Wave 6 has in his non-tank pool, or whether he's going to try and still continue fighting this tank v tank matchup.
I just wonder, like, what the play is here. The Camille ban's very interesting to me, because I guess they're thinking maybe this is the moment that they want to turn into an aggressive top lane, and I guess it is to an extent. I mean, you're not really aggressive as this Kale, as more so you're scaling. You're trying to get to level 16. But against the Scion, this is a very, very different top lane matchup.
It is, and my fear is that it might not necessarily be for the better in the early game here. Kale is also melee until I believe it's level 6 there, so that's going to be a super rough matchup early and extremely punishable. And Koros has shown that he knows how to abuse a melee lane, so if you give him something even easier to abuse, that's going to be an absolute nightmare. The LeBlanc here for your Nurse, it's not Syndra, but it does do a chunk of damage as well, so it looks like they've already prepared sort of another counter to the Lucian should Reversio want to pick it. And now I feel like
I like that a
Reversio's
lot.
pick.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
Yeah. I mean, it's very different from the Graves, but
But
Sejuani.
it's huge into this composition.
Yeah. You have the Jhin, you have the LeBlanc. There's just so much tankiness here. And it's just gonna make Samira's life absolute hell. So I'm loving it as well. If you CC up the kill, that's great. And I'm very scared for Reversio. He needs to pick something that will tie his composition together. So far, nothing really takes huge advantage of the Jarvan. Kassadin isn't. Okay.
It's his response. You go for the late game, Kassadin. They're very much so putting the onus into the late game here with the Kale and Kassadin picks, which again we haven't made it there. Like we haven't gotten to the late game very often, and so I don't know how that's really going to work out. And the early game prowess that OGS is whipping out right now is going to be insane.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, at least Aqualix answered one of my hopes here. They did kind of throw all their stuff out the window there, and they're running a completely different playbook, which I liked, but I'm not so much liking the new playbook either. It feels like a lot of disparate picks here. You've got the Samira Pantheon. They're great together, but they don't synergize that great with the Jarvan. They don't necessarily synergize that great with the Kassadin as well. Sure, Kale can use the intervention onto Samira as well to keep her alive in the midst of a fight. That's all well and good, but aside from that, it just feels like a lot of desperation here and trying to hope and pray that you get to a late game. Like, as you said, we haven't reached. I still believe the longest is still 28 minutes in game 2, I believe, is still the longest game we've had so far. And with the likes of a LeBlanc Sejuani, that to me spells that you want to get some ganks off, you want to get some roams, and your Nurse and Banky Kang have shown an extreme willingness to roam throughout this entire series so far. And it feels like every lane they go to, mid lane, Kassadin's gankable, he's not that strong. Even after he hits 6 and has escapes, he can't deal with siege and pressure. Kale, top lane's going to be vulnerable pretty much until late game level 16. That's a long ways away here. Actually, last game, I'm not sure they even hit level 16 in the top lane before the game ended. J4 is going to be very vulnerable on the top side of the map because he's got to kill Kassadin. No one there to back him up. And so, again, the weight for the side of Aqualix seems to have fallen down to Oshawott and Monster Mash in the early game, and they just haven't completely delivered yet, aside from that game 2. And even then, it felt like a lot of it was helped through Reversio. So I'm very, very scared for what I'm seeing for Aqualix here.
Yeah, and that last game wasn't the brightest from Reversio either, because we saw that first Lucian game. We're like, oh man, this could work. But last game it was shown again that it didn't. So wonder what the changeup is playing onto Kassadin this time around. I think still it's going to be up to Pyroan and Banky Kang to really get the momentum going in this game, and how their pathing is going to be a big influence to that. But the bot lane here is going to be so volatile.
Yeah. Well, at least for the side of Aqualix, they hope it's volatile in their direction. I think Omega Gaming Silence, like they'll want to get kills, and like you said, Jhin does a lot of bursts too, and kind of plays well around all the shields. But at the same time, if they don't necessarily pop off in the bot lane and crush, I think Omega Gaming Silence is kind of okay with that as well. So yeah.
One of the secret, I don't know, it's not a secret tactic. One of the biggest tactics for Samira, especially going up against the Jhin, is just catch him off guard. Like, he's fine poking, getting that range damage. He's going to be looking for those walk forwards to get the forward shot, things like that. But the thing that Samira can do is immediately jump on and just lay down the damage, where the Jhin is like, oh god, I can't move. I'm immobile. I need to get out. And he starts like misthinking on what he needs to do in those situations. And I've seen it happen so many times where they get caught up in how quickly the pace changes that they just can't respond to the Samir's damage. And you pair that up with a Pantheon, you're dead if you get caught. And so I'm looking at Azuto this time in his positioning, especially in how he's going to play that early bot.
Yeah, 100%. We also have to keep our eyes on Benjito, because when we did see Benjito get the Taric back in game one, in the early levels, his dazzle was absolutely on point to try and interrupt those engages here, especially onto Oshawott, Samira, and the Rakan that Monster Mash opted for, which fulfills a similar, though less damage heavy as the Pantheon support here. So, yeah, definitely. And especially pre-6, what you say is absolutely exploitable there. If they get onto Azuto before level 6, all they have in their pocket is a Dazzle. They don't have the Cosmic Radiance to follow up either. So that pre-6 window, while their top and mid are completely getting shafted and boned, is the opportunity here for Oshawott, for Monster Mash to pop off. And if we look at how they've done historically throughout the season, Oshawott has been one of the absolute monsters for the team, along with Perwin and Reversio, to really try and carry. So it's time he needs to step up. Maybe Perwin start throwing ganks down there 24/7. Set up a tent. Set up a cottage, man. A full-on apartment. Just keep camping the ball lane. Get them snowballing here.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how the chips fall here in game number 4 of the Risen Divine League Winners Bracket Finals. We'll see how it turns out. We got to take a little break, though. Don't go anywhere. Don't touch that browser. We'll be right back. We have hit Summoner's Rift for the 4th time. Count it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Potentially going to a 5th game as we get to see these two teams clash here. I am hoping for the Aqualix comeback. I'm hoping to hear those sweet, sweet silver scrapes, but it is looking like a very tough undertaking for their squad.
Yeah, and gaming silence has really burst into this winners finals here with amazing aplomb. I mean, they on paper they were not expected to even make it this far here, and they've just absolutely. Yeah, if you watch the series, you
The
definitely
camp.
would think so because they've just been on fire, on point, and their drafts have been great. Their early games have been great, and their ability to close out games has also been great. And if they win here, they punch their ticket straight into the finals, where whichever team has to face them is going to have a really, really tough task.
They will. Looks like we're going to get opposite side starts here from both sides. Oshawott Monster Mash not gonna get baited this time though, random minion caster, and get caught in that level 1 like they did in game number 1. Wave Zix just fell for this every time. Every game. Every time he steps out of it, like the last second, but like the character model just still gets hit for some reason. Like last game on the Ord did the same thing like 3 times, and now we get a level 2 gank by Pyro in the mid lane. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of damage. You get the dazzle off though on the Monster Mash. Banjito got the ignite onto him as well. That's one summoner spell burned on the bot side. Koros making a lot of pressure in the top part of the map. But very interested that we saw Pyro and take that level 2 gank mid.
I like it. You've picked J4. He's one of the best junglers at pulling that level 2 gank there. And you kind of need to. If not, we already saw your nurse punishing Reversio as soon as they saw each other. Or in the mid lane, before minions spawned, he was already throwing those chains out there. So you definitely need to help out your lanes quite a bit here. And that's why you picked the J4. You've got to kill, you've got to cast, and you've got solo lanes here. And you want to try and help your bot lane really pop off. I like the aggression we're seeing from Oshawott and Monster Mash right away as well, because that's what they need here to try and keep themselves in this series, because they really, really don't want to drop out here. Aqualix, the sort of heavy favorites to win it all here, to stumble at the winners finals is not where they wanted things to go.
Not at all, and especially to this up-and-coming squad of Omega Gaming Silence, who have really just completely changed the thoughts coming into this series. I mean, it is insane the performances we've seen from these guys, and I honestly think they deserve at this point to go to that grand finals, because they have been playing out of their mind. But the chance can turn on its head very quickly on the bot side. Can Oshawott get the damage? He was focusing the Zudo. They get the heal. He doesn't have Inferno Trigger yet. First blood going over, and Monster Mash doesn't even get it.
Vegito went down. I think the lowest I saw there was 12 health. 12. A minion could have taken him out there, but he survives, and because he survives, everything's going so wrong. This is the bot lane where they could look for a win, and they don't find it in their strongest lane. That is not how you want to see things start here. And now Banky Kang, he's looking to try and get a gank off of his own potentially here.
And in mid lane, Banky Kang found Pyroan in his jungle. They pushed him into not farming anymore, and now they're potentially getting a kill here on the top side. It's getting very finicky, and that's Koros going down. That's could be a potential double kill for Reversio, as they will have Pyroan coming here. Oh my goodness, you don't want to let Koros hit you. Oh, a double kill for the Scion, and that is unfortunate thinking for Reversio.
You could see Banky Kang there, like, turn around. He was running away, and Koros probably screaming, turn back, I'm here. He turns around. If Pyroan had not shown up there, that would have been a 2-for-1. Worth for Koros there. No doubt he'd take that trade. And they also pull Monster Mash out of the bot lane there to go top 2, back him up, and that's not ideal here. Azudo now coming back into lane, not punished really for that back that he got off there with a BF sword. Oshawott only has a Duran's blade. That is a rough start.
Oh, yeah, that charge misses by Banky Kang. They do have a decent amount of CC to follow it up with, though, as the Flag and drag comes through. They get the kill back, but can they turn it back around? This is getting a little bit scary for Pyro, and needs to be very, very careful. Still is surviving. Uses a shield, goes back in, gets the kill. This Banky Kang is the one that falls. You just got duped.
Knight as well will come down. Won't find the kill though, and your nurse had no mana throughout that entire fight pretty much. Only just got enough for the chains, and a 1-for-1. Good roam up from Monster Mash. I like the way, you know, he's making tracks on the map, trying to help out the various lanes. And Oshawott right now not getting punished too hard under his own turret here. The only thing they're really losing out is the pressure in the bot lane. So Azudo going to be able to continue farming up, pressuring safely here. And now Monster Mash is back, and he brought a friend.
They did. They need to get out of here, Ben. Jito and Azudo do not have the angle on this. They turn onto Oshawott. Can't they get everybody here? Oh my goodness, they have the TP. This is the turnaround double knockup. Oh no, it's a double kill for Azudo. Make it a triple. And it's 7-3. Almost 3,000 gold in the lead this early on, Random Minion Caster. And they are right back where they want to be.
Yas, can they take it? Oh, yes, they can. They took everyone who showed up in the ball lane here. Absolutely massive. And Reversio is also getting punished. And that bot lane fight, a lot of that was just the BF difference. You saw how big the damage coming out from Azudo was in that fight. It was absolutely disgusting. They even if the TP had not come through for Koros there, they could potentially have traded at least even 2-for-2 in the bot lane, if not just flat out turned that on their own. So very, very rough bot lane here. The one lane they were hoping to win has gone completely the other way. Azudo now 4-0 here.
That's huge. And just the timing there, your Nurses will run straight into Pyro, and he's level 6, but can he do anything to turn it around? Does not look like it, and Pyro's going to secure that one.
Yeah, great that they didn't get baited by the clone at all. They were on point with that. They pick up another kill, and Monster Mash, once again, he's making tracks, making action happen, and more importantly, Reversio is now 1, 2, and 3, the beneficiary of a lot of pressure into the mid lane here, and that means that he hasn't fallen behind at all. If anything, he's actually up ahead. He's up in CS, he's up in kills, he's up in assists, he's also up in deaths, but we shan't talk too much about that. So he's got a level lead, gold lead, and that's going to help secure him here for all the sort of kills and the early game action Omega Gaming Silence is getting here. Their solo lanes, their carry lanes, their scaling lanes are not falling too far behind.
And with Pyroan in the bot side of the jungle, you got to expect that he's going to try to make a gank here onto the Jhin or Taric. But all the while, the Rift Herald is being taken on the top side of the map by Banky Kang, who doing a really good job of responding in places, though Banjito and Azudo are going to look at this 1v3 again. Level 6 has been achieved by Pyro, and he gets stopped, though, and can't use it. That feels so bad to not be able to get that Cataclysm off there and secure those kills, because you know they had no real response besides their flashes.
Watch Banjito here. He's about halfway to 6. We'll probably hit it at the end of this wave potentially here. And once he hits 6, suddenly a lot of that kill potential, gank potential is no longer available. But the Ocean Drake is up right now. There is pretty good vision from both of these teams. And more importantly, Aqualix has priority on this dragon, but they're looking for kills.
Gonna respond to this mid lane. They knew that Banky Kang and Your Nurse were positioned over here. They look to try to capitalize on it. It looks like they're just going to pull down to this dragon.
I'm not sure they can get it now, unfortunately. Oshawott's not with them, and there was a ward in the back of the pit. It just broke. Perona and Monster Mash have to run for their lives.
Azudo's going to get the hit, does get the Deadly Flourish as well. He's taking a lot of damage from the dragon, though. You don't want to be in a predicament like this. Look, he's already half health. He needs to turn it around and do this dragon, as it's going to be a back here from a Monster Mash, and it looks like they're just going to give it up. It does reset, but the first dragon of the game, the Ocean Dragon, will go into Omega Gaming Silence's objective pocket.
Is, of course, once again, the Ocean Drake as well. So if you thought their laning wasn't oppressive enough, they're going to have regeneration, and that's going to matter a lot for Koros, actually, specifically in that top lane. Wave 6, now level 8, is ranged here, so can trade a lot more effectively. So having that sustain is going to be great, but that's first turret going the way of Omega Gaming Science. We've seen this before. It's only 10 minutes. We have to remember, every time Omega get a lead, the pace of the game accelerates so quickly here. So it's only 10 minutes. turrets down, but already a 3K gold lead.
Yeah, and at 10 minutes, 10.5 minutes, that's a huge lead to have. And with that bot side tower gone, they just get to pretty much do whatever they want. They can pick their next play and pick the litter, if you will, on their next play, because you can choose to switch up this bot lane. You can put them where you want to focus this next tower. And it looks like we are going to get the lane swap towards the top side.
That makes sense because Koro, unfortunately, with that, Sion has been doing great into melees. But like I said, Wave 6 now has the range. And
Okay, Goros? I don't know if that's what you wanted. He knew his teammates were right here and they had low health. Curtain call comes out. He's still going to go low. Last shot, though, he gets out with the flash. Glacial Prison not going to land from Banky Kang. He wants it. He wants it. Can he get it? The smite going to secure it. Monster Mash doesn't get the stun in the tower range and now has to flash himself. Another tower getting some beating on here on the top side. And it has been so in favor of Omega Gaming.
Azudo with the BF difference. It's no longer a BF difference. It's a flat-out Infinity Edge difference at this point. 5-0-1. Look at Oshawott. What's he got? 2 long swords. That's what he's got to match in his pocket right now. Nobody can match Azudo right now on the map, and eyes have to be on Reversio here because in the team fights later, it's going to be Reversio's job to find Azudo, and it's going to be real hard with Benjito guarding him. That's going to be the second turret going down. This one without Herald because Azudo is just so strong at this point. And Wave 6, you can lane into Koro. You cannot lane into Azudo here. You were previously before.
No.
Now you're ranged, and Heroin?
Yeah, he gets caught. Oshawott's caught here too. Can he just take him down? The knockup is there. Koros, he gets the heal. Oh no, flashing away as Oshawott. He'll do it though, and that's the TP coming in. Reversio has found Koros, but the ADC is already down. The damage is already done. And this is going to be a long, drawn-out fight here under the towers, giving the gold over to Reversio, who gets a nice little shutdown, but all that damage down. Look at that. That's going to be Reversio almost taken out. Mid-tower, now the focus. Flying Drag misses very badly. Pyroan gets completely punished for it.
Where Azudo is, you cannot fight anywhere near that. With the curtain call, with those Swifties as well, Azudo is just able to run everywhere here and just continue snowballing his pressure. Oshawott.
Yeah, I mean, Monster Mash just doesn't have a chance at that point. Oshawott doesn't really have anything you can respond to. Like, you're just not in a position of power on the Samir, and we've seen it time and time again. It's 0-3 in this series. We're okay, not 0-3 yet. We still have a long ways to go. There's still a lot of scaling principles, but at least in laning phase, she ain't doing that hot.
I would agree. Laning phase right now, Samira 0-3, and for all that we keep, talking up Omega here, let's take a look at Aqualix and where they're at with things. Because once again, Reversio on this Kassadin is still not doing too badly for himself. Has the Rod of Ages stacking here. The Tear of the Goddess, a new pickup. So still going to be in a bit of a power trough for the next little while here. But it feels like a lot of weight is on his shoulders. He's been the one who's been benefiting, picking up some kills here, getting a lot of attention. And if he gets up later in levels, he can sort of dodge out and look to punish Azudo and Koro 1v2.
Using the unstoppable onslaught there, will not have any way out, but they don't have any way to stop him from TPing. They finally get it up. Nice timing by Pyroan. Get the Grand Starfall in there as well, and they will give over the kill to Wave 6 on this Kale.
Yeah, and Kale is the other sort of person we're looking at for these late game fights a lot, because Kale, when they don't have a traditional ADC, and that Oshawott is more bursty and melee, but you get basically the ADC effect with that kill as well. So the fact that Wave 6 is having a much better laning time is actually up CS is also not a bad sign. The only issue is, can they match Azudo right now, who's 6-0-1 now? Rapid fire cannon completed. And again, every time I look at Azudo, I can't help but look at Oshawott. And Oshawott now has the BS sword, now has the Caulfield's Warhammer. But you've got 2 components versus 2 completed items. And now Inferno Drake being picked up means even more damage from that already way too dangerous Jhin.
Yeah, I mean, I still think the Kassadin has options to blow the Jhin up, but I mean, how much is that going to effective at this point in the game. You gotta hope that there is, because that's really their only chance of getting a Zudo. They have to get to that back line. They have to get through this tanky front line and get to the real damage dealers of the team. And yes, your nurse is going to be doing just fine, but right now the biggest focus has to be a Zudo.
I kind of feel like right now what Aqualix needs to do is they need to stop the hemorrhaging here. Maybe group up and look for a pick. We've seen Koros is prone to overextend on this side. And yes, you need 3 people to take him down, but you have 4 other people aside from Reversio. You can look to try and punish him there as well. And the moment you get a kill somewhere, group up. The TP on Reversio is down, but once it's up, look to make a play. Because if you let Omega continue dictating the pace of the game, this is going to happen.
The Rift Herald is spawned. It is on the top side of the map, and it will get another tower. They don't have a response here. You see the backs coming in from 3 members from Aqualix. Can they get down here to defend it in time? It looks like they're just going to get another charge off. Koros just tanking it up. This might not be the fight. This is the turnaround. If they can get it to happen, that's a double knock up there. Koros getting very low. Reversio starting to stack up the ultis. Flashes forward. Flashes from everybody. They get the Cosmic Radiance onto all 4 members. At this point, you just turn the fight, I feel like. But they don't. That's going to be a big knock up there. They get the fight. Here comes Oshawato. Gets the knock up onto Zudo. That's the target. That's the focus. And they're getting everyone. They actually leave Zudo out. He misses the first curtain call, but it's going to be Koros picking up 1, getting a double kill for himself. And they take a very wonky fight. They come away with 1 extra kill than their opponent, and don't call it a comeback, baby.
I wouldn't call that a comeback yet, because that took so long that your nurse is gonna get the inner turret in the bot lane here. Though it isn't, as you said, exactly a comeback. I wouldn't call it a comeback, but it is signs of life from them, and that was a good pick, a good decision. They got the numbers advantage there. It was a 5v4 under their turret, which they somehow managed to salvage out of all of that. Did not go down in the top there, despite Xiaoyi charging into it. That was pretty much everything they could hope for. The only issue was they couldn't reach Azudo, and between Azudo and Koros there, they ended up losing people on the back end of it. But right now, if you trade even, that's worth for the side of Aqualix. You lose that inner turret this time. Well, on the bright side, it won't be there the next time for your nurse to take. So you take what you can get. You try and balance things out. And at least Oshawott now has the Essence Reaver completed as well. The Gunblade coming through for Wave 6 will hopefully help with damage and sustain in the next fight here.
Hopefully. We've got about 2 minutes till another dragon spawns. It is going to be the Cloud Soul. Both compositions really benefiting off of that 10% ulti cooldown, especially if Aqualix can get all 4 of them. That would be very impressive. But if they can is still the question that remains. And I'm sure that we will get that decision not shortly, but in a decent amount of time. I think one of the most interesting points is that we are seeing a big collapse around mid lane right now from both sides. And you have a bit of counter jungling coming in, but it might be a bit of an overextension from Banky, as they're going to get caught here. Uses the flag drag right over the wall, but look how tanky he is. Goes right back in onto Pyrone. They're going to get the knockups here. They get the damage down. They don't get the kill onto Pyrone, though. They burn a decent amount. There's going to be another red buff going over to Jhin.
And they don't really need to win that. I mean, they got Pyrone low. And you look at who's got any damage at all. It's only Banky who took any damage, and he's so healthy. They just brute force this top lane turret here, and they don't even want to take the inhibitor. It's pre 20 minutes here. You take the inhibitor, it applies a bunch of pressure in the top lane, but they can just look to continue shoving out. In fact, now they're just leaving Reversio. They don't care that Reversio's trying to split push. They're just going to take everything else. The time it takes Reversio to take that one turret, they got top lane, and they're going to take mid.
Yeah, and he's got to find a way to get back here. And this is 5 members strong, pushing in your mid inhib. He just now started to back, too. I don't know how much he can do. Cataclysm comes in a bit early. Here comes the Cosmic Radiance under the tower. It's going to save the day, and this is completely in Omega's favor. The curtain call's going to come out. Not going to save him is the righteous judgment, but the Inferno trigger is going to get the turnaround. Oshawott looking to go pop off, but gets fourth-shotted into the dirt by Azudo, who has racked up so many kills. He is now officially godlike.
What can I say? Math will tell you 4 invincibilities there for 2.5 seconds is better than the one from Wave 6 on only 1. target. And that Cosmic Radiance, we said, we've got to watch Benjito in these fights to see whether he can keep Azudo alive. He didn't keep Azudo alive, but he kept Banky Kang alive instead, and that turned out to be absolutely massive. You said you wanted to see a big, 4-man sort of ultimate, and Pirowin found that 4-man ultimate under the turret, no less, and they still couldn't turn the fight. Now that's the third Drake coming in. It's the Cloud Drake once again here for the side of Omega Gaming. With this particular composition, I don't think it's that big a deal. So if I'm Aqualix at this point, I think just give up the soul. The soul doesn't matter. It's Baron. Baron's what this one's about. If you lose Baron, I think it's pretty much going to be game at that point.
Yeah, because they've already broken your base. They have ways in. They have this Scion who's just been consistently split pushing over and over in all 4 of these games that we've had random minion caster. And honestly, the Scion's the biggest pick. I feel like yes, he has been a bit quiet, but it's been his influence that has pulled a lot of these late game fights for them. So I think it's a great standout pick. I hope he can play other champions. But so far, Koro's looking real nice.
Yeah, and I mean, Koros can play the Gangplank as well, but we saw
Yeah. I know. It's a meme, okay? It's a meme. I know he can play other champions.
Yeah, so I guess
when
the
you
issue...
get stuck on him for 4 games in a row, you gotta kind of...
So the question is, can he play anything besides those two?
Oh no, Reversio's mad. He is so mad right now. He just got the blue stolen away. He's gonna completely chase your nurse. Who gets you just broke that man's ankles on live broadcast. Holy cow. I don't think I've ever seen that much of a dodge there by your nurse. What a play. And he completely duped Reversio, who just went bot.
And I want to point out, that's a Kassadin no less. With the Rift Walks, he's got multiple Rift Walks, and Reversio just come in, nah, I give up, man.
I'm done.
You took my blue, you took my dignity, I'm out, peace out. And now they're going for the open inhibitor.
Yeah, you took my blue, you made me chase you halfway across the map. I'm done. I'm just going to split push from now on. I don't care about the inhib as it goes down. That is the topside tower, or topside inhib being opened up, and now Oshawott is terribly caught here. I don't know if your nurse actually has the damage to finish him off. That's a lot of healing. You got to get some grievous wounds for that one, but they've caught Pyroan, and it's the chaos that is lending itself to Omega Gaming right now. It's not any normal state of the game. People are all over the place, and they're still coming up big.
Yeah, and I mean, part of me wants to say that the chaos is benefiting Aqualix and that it's stalling the game out a little bit, but they're not getting much out of it other than a bit of time. And now Baron's being started up. They're forced to take this, but I don't think
Monster Mash is dead. Yeah, that's huge. That's a big part of your front line there. And now Reversio is pressured out. They're gonna have Koros caught a little bit here. Baron's still at 5,000 health. They want to take the fight, but can they? Baron has been pulled off. Pyroan goes right into Azudo, who flashes outside. Cosmic Radiance comes down. That's 3 members. And again, it's the same story wrote over and over, but the Inferno trigger might have a different ending this time around. Oshawa's trying to make a miracle happen, but that miracle is going to be Stardust, as it is Omega Gaming Silence who has slammed the door on this game, as they are 8,000 gold in the lead. They've taken everything but the Baron, and now that's in their eyes too.
Mizel, Koro didn't get caught there. What he did was he went fishing, and he caught the big one. He did not die in that fight. I can't believe that he didn't there. He was soaking up damage for a good, 4 or 5 seconds before his team decided to say, oh, Koro, is somebody tickling you over? Let me join in. And they get Baron here. You know what? The only good news I can think of it so far, Mizel, is that we're 24 and a half minutes into the game. It feels like this is potentially might go longer than majority of the games we've had in this series so far.
It's seeming like it, but the question is it the plan here of Omega Gaming Science just to go ahead and slam home the win? It looks like they want to focus around Dragon, which is spawning in 40 seconds, and that would be a big boon to them to give them that extra cooldown reduction, but as well as the movement speed on ulti cast from the Cloud Soul, as they're going to be looking to get priority in this mid lane to push down into this Dragon Pit. You have a couple members responding, but it's really rough because Oshawott is towards the top side of the map right now. Wave 6, yes, he has TP, but there's no path for Oshawott to get down here safely without taking a lot of extra time. And that's something that I think Oshawott it needs to look at for this game is he just really hasn't been able to be there when his team needs him.
Yeah, and Oshawott, unfortunately, is so short ranged as well and doesn't have sort of the teleport, that global mobility spell. So he's trying to farm and he's trying to balance being with the team here. The Drake there, I think Aqualix, even if Oshawott had been in the area, that's still not a fight you want to take there. The Dragon does nothing against the side of Omega. They could tank that for days here. They don't really take any damage from it, and it's not going to help out as much. So I think them splitting, trying to catch and soak as much CS as they can, and maybe buy some items, maybe buy even elixirs at this point. Because if you lose a single fight at this point, you lose the game, and this might just be it here.
Oh, that is. Your nurse goes in for a little pre-stun there. They get the double knock up there, though, as Curtain Call comes in. They're under the tower. They don't even care yet, but it's your nurse who finished it off. And now Oshawott's going to take the fourth shot to the dome. Righteous is not going to do anything. Inferno Trigger will be Inferno done. And that is going to be everything pouring into the base of Aqualix Esports. And they will be forced to go down to the losers bracket, as it's going to be Omega Gaming silencing all of the haters and booking their golden ticket to the grand finals of the Risen Divine League. They deserve it. They have done the work to reach the mountaintop, and now they wait their opponent.
And one of the terms bandied around about Omega Gaming's run so far was the Cinderella run. And this is about as Cinderella as you can go here, bar winning the finals. They beat the tournament, the league favorites in Aqualix Gaming, and they do it in style here. It's not a clutch affair. You know, after game 2, I was thinking the series has been so close. Even after game 3, I felt like, okay, the series still kind of close. But game 4, there's no doubts whatsoever. They've just blown Aqualix out of the water here. And somebody want to see the damage charts? They're up there on the stream. Look at Koros. That
every
is
game,
not
bro.
okay. Yeah,
every game. Doesn't
He's
matter.
and you have to keep in mind that, yes, Azudo outdamaged him, but Azudo was 8-0-11. He has everybody peeling for him. He had ganks thrown his way. Koros did not have ganks thrown his way here. The only ganks in the top lane kind of were iffy, and he ended up dying on those. And yet, despite that, second highest damage in the game. This is absolutely nutty.
That is just absolutely crazy. 4 games dealt, 4 games down, as this Scion and Koros just coming up clutch. But honestly, it was the team effort from Omega, and especially looking at these carry players, your nurse having pop-off performances, Azudo doing well in this bot lane against Oshawott, who we had high hopes for in this tournament, and they do still get to continue. Obviously, it is still going down to the losers bracket for Aqualix, and I'm hoping we get to have a rematch in the grand finals if they can make it all the way through that. But I think that across the board there were players that played so well, and the saddest part for me is I feel like Reversio was having a good series. It definitely declined as we went on, but you see the glimmer of hope there for this player that can just absolutely hard carry for his team, and I want to see that developed more.
Agreed, 100%. I mean, multiple players did really well, even on the side of Aqualix. And I'll tell you what, Mazel, I'm not looking forward. I wouldn't put betting odds on whichever team has to face Aqualix after this, because I've spoken to some of their players before. This is not an arrogant team. This is not the sort of team who, you know, would have a broken mental after losing a series here. They might not have lost a series up to this point, but now that they have, I think they're just going to bounce back stronger here. And I think whoever they're playing next week is in for one hell of a time, because that's going to be a very, very upset Aqualix looking to hone themselves and make sure they make it back to the finals again.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that. And I really, my heart goes out to Aqualix, who were this top dog that we were looking at, just going straight to the grand finals, and they stuttered at the last minute here, and you gotta hope that they can learn from this and come back from it stronger to meet these opponents in the finals. But you gotta put that down, and you gotta raise this wondrous team that is Omega Gaming Silence, booking that grand finals ticket just across the scene in amateur. being so good of an organization that it shows through on a basic level. And you see that with this Cinderella story, as you said, in this squad of Omega Gaming Silence.
Yeah, 100% here. And unfortunately, we won't be able to see Omega Gaming Silence for the next couple of weeks because they've booked themselves a finals ticket. They have no more games to play. But I don't think we even see Aqualix actually for a while because I do believe,
There's
um,
still two other series to be played in the
right.
bottom bracket right now for them to figure out their matchup. Uh, I believe. But there will be more information about all that on the social media channels. You can check into the Risen Twitter and all that wonderful stuff. But that's going to be it here from us on the desk and in the broadcast booth. I want to give a huge shout out to Crybaby behind the scenes, pressing all the buttons, being the producer that makes us look so dang good on the stream. And yeah. What? It's a virtual broadcast booth, I was told. I'm sorry. The misinformation campaign is not gonna continue here. But also Random Inning Caster for joining me for these 4 games. It was an absolute blast to cast alongside you, and I look forward to our next time in the Divine League playoffs. And for everybody else, I hope you enjoyed everything up until this point. I hope you have a great night, and we'll see you next time on Summoner's Rift.